daħal wieħed ma nafx ma minn kien, ħax il-sit trees, għamel xi 106, meta għamel il-1 beda sejjer. Alla xi tsejt sitta, għallejthom, ġew għalli kien jitfall isib ġuri fuq. Xuereb, yes.
Għax il-generation ta' kontesta
But some people get it. Jolly,
Bas naqalina, ma tistax tifel tmur ċabċab ilu fil-ġew Mike, ma tistax.
Yes.
Mela nibdew naqa' xi ħaġa Mike. Isma' di xi ħaġa chill. Casual. Ġifieri naf li inti mdorri qudiem il-kamera issa.
Kien żmien.
Mela għal min ma jafx forsi Mike Naudi, he's considered amongst the best Maltese to ever play the basketball game.
The best, mux amongst.
Ma tefanix wan.
Jinfajt Samuel.
Tefani tu.
Sajtu tu.
Anka jena,
Le, ma Samuel fil-verità he's Malti, justice size tiegħu huwa tant Mike. Tiftakrux kif kien inti Samuel, imma tura immens bħala plejer, da jiġik minn barra spaltu daqshekk Mike. Jiddanka kull ballun ma
Tagħmel top 10 diffiċli ħafna. Jiena kif tagħmel top 10 1 to 10 in a list is very very difficult. Jekk tgħidli Samuel 1 bħala talent, ngħidlek no. Għax jekk qed tagħmel
sheer power sort of.
size, God gifted size. You know what I mean? If you're going to take it on talent, it's one thing. If you're going to take it on size, it's another.
Fil-verità
So there's a balance. Jiena ngħid the best way to do it. Jekk tkun coach u kellek tista' tagħżem minn dak id-decade u dak id-decade. Limu tim li taqqat flimkien biex tagħmel. Jien hekk nagħmel kieku mhux
top 10 ejja, top 10.
Top 10 players, individual players.
Top 5, whatever.
Jiena labt ta' żmien ta' Paolo Zurda, Kevin De Cesar, Kevin ma laħabtux. Intkom ma tirdux gost għax mhux qegħdin hemm bħalissa. Imma top 5 naħseb Omar Steve żgur għax naħseb bħala talent. Jekk qed tgħid dedication, if dedication was a talent, I think it should be Omar's by far the most dedicated player li qatt right. Nixtieq li kont 50% iktar. Bħala basic talent.
Inti wkoll kont dedikat ukoll,
Imma jien kont dedikat fl-aħħar 10 snin.
Vera?
Jiena sa 27-28 ma kontx nitrejnja daqs kemm suppost. Meta mort l-Amerika ġejt lura mill sentej bajt nitrenja, u mbagħad jisni once li tiġi Malta tajt għal xiex, xi kultant tibda tajt għal xiex. Irid nitrenja daqshekk jekk m'għandi bżonn, għax tasal sa ċertu punt fejn sejjer. That's the level. If you're not playing against a lot of different players, il-problema li għandna Malta ġi ġimgħa wara ġimgħa qed tilgħab kontra l-istess 20 ruħ. Kif tista' timprovja? Jiena jekk ngħid li Steve Schembri jew Omar kienu l-iktar ġiex opponents diffiċli li kelli. And they managed to become better than me. They can only be up to a certain point, get better, because they're not playing against anyone else. Aħna improvjajna iktar mill-li forsi improvjajtu inko, għax kellna esperjenzi differenti, aħna minna sena. L-aħjar sena ta' ħajti fejn labna serje G.
Kulħadd isemmi għadek Mike.
U jekk ma jerġgħux jagħmlu serje G, il-basketball
Is it feasible?
It can be feasible. If you do it properly, it can be feasible.
U kif kontu tqasmu? Spjegalna.
Aħna konna mela kienu għamlu programm.
Best team kien jitla, kull team kien jitla.
No, nazzjonal kien jitla.
Nazzjonal.
Nazzjonal, kienet selection tan-nazzjonal.
Seniors.
Kellhom selection minn għalija kienet ta' 20 players, issa ovvjament ikollok injury l-hemm, unavailability l-hemm, whatever. And come that game, we used to go once every 2 weeks, għax darba konna labu home u darba konna labu away. Jiena dik is-sena u di fejn bdejt l-injuries tiegħi jibdew wara serje G, għax wara bdejna s-serje G, imma ma konniex edukati kif
Preparati.
intkom illum physically. You know, isma jitlab 3 logħbiet fil-ġimgħa, titrenja xejn. Aħna xorta konna ma kenniex physiotherapy, ma kenniex masseurs, konna naqbdu flight fil-ħodu kmini, tasal hemm fis-sitta, tittamel bass sa Trapani jew sa fejn konna mmorru 4 sigħat 5 sigħat fil-bass. Sija l-hotel u tmur għall-logħba. You know, so your body was taking a beating. Jiena dik is-sena labt 80 games. Għax kont serjeċi gbar.
Kif kontu l-klab kien ħallikom, eżempju dik.
Il-klab kien ħajna, jiena qatt ma nifhem di. It's better for the club. Dil-ħaġa li aħna nazzjonal Malta qatt ma niltaqgħu sal-aħħar ġimgħa ta' qabel it-tournament hija diżaster. Jekk il-plejers tan-nazzjonal jiltaqgħu darba kull ġimgħa u jagħmlu session ma' xulxin fejn il-livell jitla' automatically ħassir aħjar. Għax qed tilab kontra l-aħjar players.
Issa jien I don't agree with you mbagħad fuqha.
It has to.
Imma
It has to. It's
kif
doing
jiena
it.
ħanilablu l-ħadd il-kert u għada fil-għodu rebaħ li jew il-baħklu, għada fil-għodu ħammu li trejnja miegħu.
Dasek, tkun kompetittiva.
Strina, I don't agree with you, ta'
L-iktar leagues li jerbaħna meta morna l-aħjar kienu dawk il-leagues fej il-lob kien inqas diffiċli mit training sessions. Inti kontem il-training sessions tagħna. Meta konna nlabu 5-on-5. Jien kont nispiċċa kważi physical fight with my own brother.
Vera.
Jew Momar. It used to be as competitive as the game itself on a Sunday.
Vera. No, more.
If not more.
More.
So why not meet up every week? People tell me, għax barra ma jamluwix. Ma barra timorru diġa ħjar minna, ħna rridu nibidlu l-affarijiet mhux huma.
I agree that there has to be something.
There has to be a big change.
I agree with that.
Imma l-coach minn ħajkun eżempju.
Jiena dejjem naqbel li coach kun Malti sa ċertu punt. Għalxiex. Għax jaf il-prodott Malti, issa, tajli, coach Malti. I'm saying in my time, we didn't have this thing that we want to get a result just to showcase it and put it on PR and say that we want a gold or we want a silver when the team is full of people that come and visit for a holiday and leave after 3 days. They are giving nothing to the local game. Nothing they are giving to the local game.
Però if someone is giving something to the local game, naħseb huwa l-coach. Per eżempju, aħna meta kellna l-pakka, il-livell huwa miljun darba. Le, baqa.
Mux bħal dal-Kanadis liġi. Għamel ġimma, coachja, kelkom terbħu l-gold u ġejtu second, per respect, you had to win the gold. But he didn't know what he had.
ġifiri.
Nsejx li kien,
ġejtu
second.
The last 3 games li morti jena nazzjonali. Silver.
Waħda minnhom, you had to win it.
Meta daħal da fl-aħħar tgħid.
Ma niftakar ġin laqasti ma niftakar sod xaħat pozistivi kun tajjeb għax niftakar dati bil-punti b'kolla. Imma coach li musti jagħti l-input across the whole season is fanatic. Inna forsi David kellu season ħażina, ma m'għandux għalfejn jintażel nazzjonali.
Valid point.
Forsi m'għandux qed ikollu mhux għax Michael Nawdi
ma taħseb li allura taħseb li l-association għandha ikolla coach għax dan bat ftakar li meta tinsemmu coaches, dal-coach ħajkun tal-nazzjonali jekk qed tgħid tal-Malta. Eżempju Ferranti, jkun coach tan-nazzjonal.
Duncan kif inhu
Jista' jkun coach ta'
Le. Jekk Duncan jista' jkun coach bħalissa u Duncan jifhem il-logħba jiena nafu jilgħab il-Duncan. So at the end of the game, he called me before the tournaments, we spoke, I gave him my advice, he gave me his feedback and so on. I agree that Duncan can be coach because you're only meeting a week, 2 weeks before a tournament or a month before the tournament. So what difference does it make to the club? But
Le, jiena naħseb huwa jgħidlek biex nagħmlu kif qed
biex nagħmlu kif qed tgħid.
no, the coach has to be separate of the national team. Separate of the national team. Of the club, sorry.
Ma jgħidx ikun associated with the club.
Aħna fi żmien konna niltaqgħu every Monday. Min għalija kien waqqafa. Għax kien hemm pika bejn John Tabone u Joe Galli at the time minn għalija. John Tabone kien għamel trainings, there was a rule. Club trainings qatt ma jsiru għana Monday biex jiltaqgħu nazzjonali. Jiena naqbel magħha 100%. Why? Because you're getting all the top players to play against each other. Inti meta tmur training, no matter what anyone says and how people get offended, you're not playing against the same level. Inti tilab kontra David, jew inti tilab kontra 10th man tal-klab tiegħek. It's a different thing.
Mhux ovvju, mhux ovvju.
Especially now with the amount of foreigners.
Mela.
You have 3 Americans, they're taking all the attention, but on the European players, they're taking even more attention. What attention are the Maltese players getting?
Mhux hekk.
They have to meet up and play more. Our problem is we don't play enough. Kemm nilagħbu lob fis-sena? 25 games?
Naħseb close to 30 naħseb.
Għandna xi mid-cup. Bla sens. You know, it was always just trying to fill the calendar.
Imma peress li hemm ftit timijiet u jisu bil-forsi li jagħmlu naqatat u hekk. X'qed tagħmel tibqa' tilab il-lig b'sitt timijiet, jisu dejjem qed tilab kontra l-istess
Dik il-problema, you know, like, unless they're going to look into a program that is similar to Serie C, and not only for the
Ġifieri
Cup.
inti qed tgħid li
For the
taqbad
winners,
l-aħjar
eh?
Maltin.
Il-nazzjonal.
Tabat il-nazzjonal.
Il-nazzjonal they meet up every Monday. Ikollhom coach u huma stess iridu jmorru jilagħbu once every 2 weeks kif qed tgħid inti.
Oh, it was in the past. But they have to make the step with another association.
Issa,
Għandu xiex improvjaw.
Matini sekonda, ħankompli fuq il-punt ta' Malta. Eżempju jiena, ngħidu ġraddin u jiena player. Kif nista' nsifer jiena kull ġimgħa? Kif nista' nsifer jiena kull
You
ġimgħa?
have to find sponsors to make an incentive. They used to pay us.
Imma anke ħabba
Aħna
x-xogħol.
kienu jħallsuna, konna niġu lura fil-ħin għax-xogħol. Konna niġu lura fil-ħin
Per
għax-xogħol.
eżempju kontu tmorru sibt fil-għodu u tiġu il-ħadd fl-għaxija, hekk.
Yes. U Monday tmur xogħol. Kienu jħallsuna minn għalija se 5 Maltese pounds a training session you attend and 6 or 8 Maltese pounds every game.
All right.
It's not about the money.
Le.
Because when you're doing this, I would have done it for free. As you played against, we played in
Le,
Serie C,
esperjenza ta' vera.
it was a super
Ma
experience.
sħabek.
You're traveling, you're with your
Vera,
friends,
vera.
and it's an experience you're never gonna get like it. But unless we do something like that, the game is not going to improve. You are not going to improve when you're playing against the same 30 players every week.
So inti kieku inti l-President tal-NBA, kieku
First thing I
inti...
would do,
That's
maybe
the
not the
first
first thing I would do, because you have to start with the younger. Now, looking at the level now it is, and the impact of too many foreigners, I would leave it as it is, but start the development camps, start a younger generation, start building kif tajdlom il-cadets or whatever up to under 15s, and then fix the seniors. But if you mentioned in your last episode, you mentioned why are kids dropping out? Maltese kids. If I'm a kid and I'm 14, 13, maybe I haven't developed and I'm not so good yet, and I go and watch a game. Nidħol ta' għalli nara posters tal-barranin. Nazzjonal, barranin. Mux Maltin, barranin. Għax tajlix samu kert naċċettom, għax Maltin. Imma li ġib il-Falsons. Li ġib, I don't know, all the other guys that you had.
Yes.
They are not Maltese, b'kull rispett. What are we? A country that is focused on winning goals, or a country that wants to give experiences to the players so that over time we get better? We have to see what are our priorities. These guys are coming and using Maltese national team so that they are spotted by an agent and they go and play somewhere. Josh Jackson, għatreġa ġiwar li għal-kontrat l-Italja.
No.
Thank you. You know what I mean? They're using us and we're not using them. So
Jiena
if anything, if
nemmen
you're going to pay that money to get these foreigners, get one. We had Josh, super nice guy, great player, but we had one. The rest were all Maltese. We learned from Josh.
Għaxek kontra ngħidlek titgħallem minnu
Titgħallem
bħala
minnu.
player.
Il-problema meta jkollok, you know, now you have the 3 foreigners on the clubs. They're not the level of the foreigners we used to have, by far. And we used to have one good foreigner. And that one good foreigner was surrounded by 9 Maltese. His attention was not on the other American, or the other 2 Americans, as now you have 3. His attention was helping Michael Naudi, or helping Omar Said. When you get 3 Americans on a team, x'jagħmlu?
Bum.
Jintafaw klikka,
Għak jiġri fil-verità.
joħorġu flimkien. They date and go out together.
Vera.
They stay together. They see us as
Peasants.
extra.
Peasants.
Peasants.
So instead of spending,
Għanna kellna esperienza.
Aħna ġili, jena, per eżempju, darba minnu mis-sena l-oħra għanna barrani l-ewwel ġimgħa ġilet miegħu jien. Għax għal kelma li għal daw kollha taf kif u like.
they come from a different level. Jina kafe morti, jien marna, ma marniex level, marna junior college, Montana. The basketball was so professional. We trained 3
Ej,
times.
dinna
we
fuq
trained
il-kontetti
3 times a day.
Ej, di, l-opportunità, inti u Steve kontu mortu.
Qabel dan isma' ma tan-nazzjonal. Eżin jien naqbel miegħek 100% fuq għadi ta' ġismu. Il-falzons I don't mind daqshekk, għax il-falzons to be honest ilhom jiġu from junior level.
What have they given to the multi-sport?
Imma per eżempju kif għal David, to me, they do. Għax minflok qed niddefendi lilu għall-inqas għal xarej fis-sajf, qed niddefendi l-Aaron jew il-Tevin li titgħallem minnhom.
And he took your playing time.
Yes, he took everything, mhux my playing time. He takes everything.
Allura.
Għax hu l-ewwel shot, it-tieni shot tħuħ, u mbagħad li jifdal somewhere, whatever.
U ma tajx li, isma' Aaron kien player ta' level all. So maybe you close an eye when they're that level. But Tevin, kull rispett.
To be honest, kien hemm it-tournaments kien jagħta ħjar Tevin, l-aħħar xi
He shot one big shot and he hit a 3-pointer in the last second out after missing like 5
kellu
threes.
logħba kien hemm xi 30 xi ħaġa.
It's not the level that I expect to take a Maltese player's
Le,
possession.
naqbel xinti ta' però jiena ħallija forsi dawk it-tnej I would make an exception għal dawk it-tnej. Però pereżempju GSSC kif għamlu għalija kienet porkerija sħiħa. U ovvjament qed ngħid naqas selfish li għax li laqas għażluni GSSC.
GSSC is a whole different ballgame.
Why is it a whole
Because then
different
it
ballgame?
becomes political. And when it becomes political, it becomes a bigger thing. And we saw the same thing happening now with the GSSC now with table tennis and all this. So it's not something really in the sometimes it's out of the control of the association as well.
Yes. Imma jiena lija li naqbel miegħek għax again, per eżempju, David l-aħjar Malti nazzjonali l-inqas l-aħħar whatever 5-10 years żgur kien l-aħjar Malti li xi titfaw u jtik and he produces. U GSSC limited playing time. U kif daħlu rajna id-differenza fil-logħba. Imma għal David Bugeja ta' qal imbullat. Isu kif ma ħadix dik l-esperjenza iġġib l-Eric Washington li għala bibu minn Malta, għala bibu minn Taqali, għasjaf xinu
If I was president or whatever in the committee, it's a difficult choice to make and I'm sure they had a lot of thought behind it. But if you're going to do that move and you're going to take that risk of getting all these players and not get the gold,
Mela, għara li terbaħum badu.
that's when it looks ugly. If they got the gold, possibly people say, you're seeing short-sighted. Basketball in Malta now has got to the point that forget the next 5 years. The next 5 years are going to remain as is. We have to set a plan, or they have to set a plan, in my opinion, I could be wrong, for the next 15, 20 years. Not 5 years, not for the next small nations. It's impossible.
Tittara a vision, sort of.
Andorra għax improvjaw. Għax marru jilaqbu fit-third division tal-Ispanja.
Ġibu Bajani wieħed.
Mbagħad iġibu Spanjol wieħed, aħna kien hemm wieħed Andorra kien monstru, kien dejjem ifqana, kien jimmarka ir-rocket insejt jismu. Kien wieħed Spanjol, imma l-oħrajn kienu kollha up getting there għax kienu qed jilagħbu in the level. Ġibilta l-istess. Ġibilta jistgħu jmorru l-Ispanja. The players Maltin m'għandhomx din l-esperjenza, so we have to see how we are going to manage to get more games, get players to play against different types of people. Għaxina, meta kont niddefendi David, jien nafsi għamil David. Jien meta kont niddefendi Steve, nafsi għamil Steve. Nafsi għamil Omar. Everyone knew what Michael was going to do. You know, so you become a bit lazier. Because there's so many things you can come up with to do in a game. So unless you're going to play against a large pool of players, it's very, very difficult to improve.
Issa jiena li l-kert ma nafx smajx il-podcast qabel, jiena nemmen kważi bil-kontra tagħkom. Ġifieri, nemmen li barranin inġibu kemm tgħid, klabb ittieħ budget x'jista' jonfoq 60-80k, issa jekk tonfoq 80k fuq 10 barranin, ġib 10 barranin. Imma you're creating a level, xiġifieri. Ġifieri, jekk aħna first division, Michael Naudi jiskurja għalek 30 punt kull logħba. Kif Michael Naudi ma jilabx in a higher division? Qed tifhemni, inti, that's
Your
your
division, Dave.
Le, imma jekk tagħmel iktar teams, iktar clubs, iktar forsi
L-Italja-
club ikollu
L-Italja u
tlettimijiet,
l-Ġermanja.
ġixtimijiet.
L-Italja u l-Ġermanja għamlu għadi, kienu fetħu l-bibin tal-barranin. L-ewwel ħaġa li ġara within 2 years, Italjani u l-Ġermani, il-national team performance naqas.
Imma allura
They filled the local league with foreign players and the national team level of Italy and Germany went down. Both.
inti temmel li bla baranin, eżempju, jew barani u
Jena nemmen, instead of 3 foreigners, you're paying them,
Mela, mhux
whatever,
trid
six-
tu jistgħu jilagħbu and
but,
any
but,
local
most,
foreigners.
but they're getting one and sitting him on the bench now. as well,
Yes,
no?
yes.
So it's-
kull club hekk qed jagħmel.
So it's
allura-
3. So you're still reducing
Yes.
a Maltese player from sitting on the bench. It
Yes.
could be a 15-year-old kif kont jien
Yes.
kif kontent tagħmel sena tħares. Dik is-sena tħares anke taf kemm tiswa at 15 years old.
Vera, vera, vera.
Issa, if they're paying these foreigners how much? 600, 700 euro are they paying? Some of them more, depending on the level.
More,
Get
no,
one.
No, not even close to 600 ta' Mike. Ħallik ta' Musa
Minn il-Pembroke, l-axħar li kont emmin, ta' sekkin u daħżu.
Much more ta'
Issa jek tarafti. Anyway, split it. Get one very good one. Ħallihom il-Europeans, because if you're not as good as a European that's living in Malta, working in Malta, has to wake up for work on Monday to Friday, and you're not as good as him, that's your problem. Train more,
He's not
become
a pro.
better. He's not a pro. The others are pro. But get one good pro. Without his friends at training backing him up, and the American guys or professional players all sticking together, where he can focus. And Kurt can ask him a question. Isma, give me a tip on that, or give me a tip on that. Jien ekkod namel. Jien kod naqbad il-bas minn San Ġiljan. Fil-ħodu, meta ma konċ qed immur l-iskola. Nitla ta' għali. Il-barranin kienu jmorru jilabu 3-on-3. Ġili kien jiserta wieħed b'xi hangover ma kienx jiġi, kien ikollu 3-on-2, kien jgħid li Roger, go there, stand there. Meta jieħed kien qassam li. Imma, week after week, I started getting him a chance, but kien ġi Dwayne Molyneux, kien ġi mal-Floriana, Stilla, kien tal-għallimni, ma kien ġiħat, he taught me how to do a crossover. Għon tal-lim tal crossover. Kien hemm l-intrajen, kien għatila one-on-one ma' Dalibor rabja tela, għax tilef, kien għatila one-on-one ma' Michael. U jgħallem il-Michael. These are the things. You know, we're putting so many foreigners, professional foreigners, not the European, again, because if you're not as good as the European, you have to train more. But if you're getting all these professional Americans that are, jiffurmaw il-klikek, they take up training attention of the coach, because the coach is going to give them the attention in training, not to the Maltese miskin. Your playing time in training is going down. Your training time in the game is going down.
X'taħseb kien?
Jiena naqbel mal-pjan tiegħek diment forsi li jkun hemm way għal Maltina ħjar, ġifieri jekk għandek akkademja tajjeb qed ittella ċertu ammont ta' livell. U mbagħad forsi tista'
Għalhekk għandek tibda minn academy law if you want to change things around.
Imma bħalissa kif qegħdin. Imma fil-verità, like aħna dik konna l-aħħar darba meta bdejna nitkellmu anke meta bdejna nagħmlu top 10, qisu l-era tagħkom, isa forsi ħabbadi tas-serja ċi ma nafx kienet, imma kien hemm aktar ammont ta' Maltin in the 2-3 years span. Għax pereżempju bejnek u bejn Steve kemm hemm differenza.
Steve sena kbar minni.
So hija
Li kien ġara wkoll li kienu nasib kienet problema. Nistgħu si ma qblux miegħi n-nies li ħanajda, ma kien hemm żmien ta' Ivan Riolo dawk where there was a certain level and a lot of players at a certain level. But there came a time where 4 players shot up that were maybe even better. The problem with those 4 players shooting up that were even better than everyone else was that they all joined each other. We all ended up on the same team.
Inti, Omar, Steve,
Me, Omar, Steve,
Dirk,
Eddie was a bit younger, and we all ended up together. And in a way, I don't think it was good for the league. In a way. When did it start changing then? When Luxor managed to get mucky, you know, and they started rebuilding again, and then some people moved, Silvio, I remember one. But the level changed. Ħalli, fizmin ta' Vanarolo, kien hemm players tajbin ħafna wkoll. The game was different. You know, I hate the game today. It's 3-pointer focused, you know, it's not the basketball, that we used to play, but probably every person of every generation is going to prepare his own. But it's a shortcut. I'm in trouble, shoot a three. But immur nara playoffs, I had to leave. Kont ħirex minn taqali, kien hemm naħseb Marida Bona, għatlu Marida street ball, ma niflax nara. Daħal wieħed ma nafx ma minn kien, ħax isit trees, għamel xi 1-on-6, meta għamel il-1, beda sejjer. Alla xut sejt 6, fallejtom, ġew għali kien jitfalli siġġu kiku.
Beda sejjer?
Oh, these things are a bit, it's more for show, and 3-pointers are my way, in my style of playing. 3-pointer was, okay, I'm stuck, let me shoot a 3. You know how I used to play. I never used to ask me, why don't you shoot more 3s? One, I didn't need to, because I had Steven and Omar. It wasn't my role.
Meant your game was inside.
And my game, what I loved was the jumping, getting hit, unfortunately. That's why I'm in pain all day now. But it's a different game. But I think the big change has to happen with a big meeting inside there and say, Isma, how are we going to help the clubs?
Taħseb li l-clubs iridu hekk, taħseb li il-clubs bejnietom jikkomunikaw tajjeb li jisma' they push for something like that, għax dan ma tistax tagħmel association biss, clubs they have a vote for it. Eżempju, jien ma naqbilx kif clubs m'għandhomx premises. Kif in-naxxar m'għandhomx premises? Umbat tittimprovi għal-level?
Athleta m'għandhom.
Athleta, kif tittimprovi?
But it's not easy. On the island we live, unfortunately, it's not easy. But then there's another problem that the clubs have, and I understand why they have it. Tmur session, coach wieħed kwalifikat, u qed jikcoachja 35 players under 14. It's impossible. Training clubs. How can players improve? But his assistant coach is keen a parent that is there għandu x'jagħmel qed jipprova jgħinu. If you have, and then you split the teams, all right, I'll take these 15. That's another problem. But all these problems tie in together. And without guidelines, the clubs are going to do what they want. Why aren't there courses for coaches? In Malta, don't tell me coaches for courses for FIBA. Not everyone can afford to go 2 weeks abroad or 3 weeks abroad to do the FIBA course. Get courses in Malta for coaches. These things can happen. Why is it there? Easter break, we used to have a triangular tournament every Easter break.
A what?
Tournament. Kienu jiġi l-Università, jew xi tim mill-Italja, tiġi Università Amerikana. It used to happen every year. Why did they stop? These things are what make people want to continue playing. I remember one reason why I wanted to be in the first team was because to go to the changing room when I was young, I used to see the teams that won the leagues from the 1960s. Niftakar Val Drury, John Tabone, Joe Gallia, għala dawra full leagues. And I used to tell myself, I want to be better than all these people.
Ekku.
Għajli xtara s-sadali, tara posters tal-barranin. Maltese player, what is he looking at? What is he looking at?
Jena l-axħar darba, għaxħana nitkellem ħafna fuq dawn l-affarijiet. U per eżempju ħaġa waħda li għall-inqas, per eżempju għandhom dak il-ħajt fejn il-play area, dak il-ħajt abjad. Għaliex m'għandhomx kit tiegħek hemmhekk. U għamlu Michael Naudi night. U mhux għalik biss anke għalihom, inti ħaġġib your friends are gonna come watch you għax kieku jagħmlu isu when they retire your jersey.
The market.
At least.
That's all marketing.
That's
all marketing. And yes, but it's good for everyone.
Inti apparti li juġak darek xħat minn basketball. Mux vera, all right.
U għali xari, ħabba ġugali,
Jena ġajta rajtu.
Satturki, għaxi.
Because inti kien number.
Le, that part of the marketing, and the marketing, it needs to be...
Not only marketing, it's something to give back.
Yeah, you're saying Hall of Fame and things like this.
Anka ritratti.
U le, naf, anka l-frames li għamlu
Anka ritratti, memżu ritratti, anka ritratt ta' nazzjonal, ta' tim.
Same thing
Isma
as
Nazzjonal 2016, Nazzjonal 2018.
Jina ġiċedaw. We went for a beer. I told him, you managed to get a picture of yourself. Inta għali before me. Għax l-ewwel personalità għal ċed. He played once national team.
Issa parti.
Issa tell me,
when
you tell, yes, but when you say something, they tell you, għax trid ritrat. Le, mux għax trid ritrat, l-istess ħaġa, bħal tal-parking li semmejt inti. I agree 100%. If I'm a player, I should not be paying parking. People are technically coming to watch me play. Open the back, where it's a disaster. Open it up, and players pass from there. If you want to be professional, act professional. Di anka l-ħaġa murna l-loba tan-nisa tal-playoffs joħorġu l-irġiel. Jitilaw, qed jagħmlu l-warming up fuq is-supporters. Jiena mort barra, rajt lob qatt ma rajt players you-warm jaw fuq is-supporters. Go in the other court. Stay at the back. Give them more time after the other game. But you don't go and do the warming up fuq in-nies. Issa, we either want to be professional and act like amateurs, or we want to be professional and act professional. We have to make a decision. If we want to act like amateurs, be happy with your bronze, your silvers and those. Or decide.
And they can be done like this.
Put all these things together and they're one big thing. Anka l-stats fuq Facebook, Colin does a great job with the stats. But when you post an Excel sheet, why post an Excel sheet? But Kurt, I'm in 30 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Picture of Kurt, that's it. Maybe in comparison to David, because they were supposed to be these are marketing things. Anka biex tara l-oba. You know, my own brother, I had to phone to tell him what time is the game, Joe. Għax ma nistax nsibu fi Facebook.
Semmija Kurt.
Ma tistax nsib ħin.
U hekk inti li int motivat biex taraħ, separa kemm ħaġġib nies.
Eżattu, jiena ġdaħija.
Mhux hekk.
ħaġa oħra, ir-referees. Issa, ħajħdu għalihom, ma jieħdux għalihom. Kif jista' referee be out of shape u bżaqq?
Ħalli għadi.
No. What is the first thing a referee out of shape will do? What is the first thing a referee out of shape will do during the game?
Jimxi.
I'm not playing anymore, I can say. He will start whistling. There's no disrespect to the referees, but if you're reffing and you're getting paid to ref, get in shape. You have to be able to keep up with the game. Because one, you're going to hurt the game. You're going to start whistling fouls that are non-existent so you can get a rest. There's no excuse.
Jemma naħsib jgħet imorru laqassa.
No, these are all the small things that fit together.
Ma li għet ngħidlek, ma naħsibx li il-level ta' referees u pool of referees irid ikun hemm.
Referee testing.
Imma m'hemmx referees.
M'hemmx, m'għandniex human resources for it.
But they have to work on it too.
Le, imma din ħaġa comes down to kif jista' jkun ejja ngħidu semmejna 8 issues f'nofsi għalihna. Ġiex minn nies can never solve these.
Ġiex minn nies. Persuna waħda hemm Joseph.
Mhux hekk.
Joseph li nkollu hemm.
Mhux hekk.
U għax iħobb il-logħba.
Jiena ma nifhimx imma kif pereżempju persuna like inti clearly għandek opinjoni fuq ċertu affarijiet.
Kif tilfuk eżempju? Kif ma titħajjarx?
Rodrik kif qiegħed mal-MFA. Taf kif? If you want to really grow the game, daw in-nies trid tara kif tagħmel u żommhom.
Jekk għaxina bdejt nasab ma ġejta u bdejt naħseb. Jekk neħħi l-coaches li għandhom il-direct involvement, direct involvement li għandhom jew it-tifel qed jilgħab. Jew il-familja. Neħħi dawk it-tip ta' coaches.
Paolo, Ferrante.
Omar.
Għandu n-nisa tiegħu.
Omar ma jitlax. Silvio, hemm it-tfal.
Dan kien naħseb.
Ivan, Riono, hemm it-tfal.
Le, mhux hekk.
What's the incentive? Go back on the subject, but there needs to be a big change. From referees to national team training, you can't say, għax dawk jitraining u hekk. So we have to train differently.
Jien eżempju, what I don't agree is kif l-NBA memħat jitħallas full time. li hemm Leonard li naf jitħallas full-time.
Ma Leonard jaħdem l-NBA Promotions. Ilu hemm. Which is a different entity.
All right, imma kif
Naħseb ikunu mselfin mill-gvern ta' xanka.
Hemm xi ħaġa.
Sandro.
imma there's a way around it li ikun hemm eżempju inti kif semmejt li Roderick mal-MFA. Kif eżempju Michael, if someone
they're not
paid you-
creating any programs that incentivize people to stay. You have to incentivize people to stay.
imma l-idea li it's your job to do something.
No one ever came up to me, let's say when I was retiring or they knew I was going to retire at 35,
Oh, yeah, do that
36 and
isma,
told me,
eh.
isma, ta' thank you tal-karriera, ħanħalsulek il-FIBA coaching course.
Issa,
Umur.
pause there, eżempju offrew li kemm il-darba tu
Oh.
clubs u hekk, m'għandek bżonna jiena l-idea tiegħi jien rajt kull coaching course kollu
You
YouTube,
need it.
m'għandix ċertifikat,
Imma you
mussa
need it.
neħli, mussa m'għandix ħin, imma issa ħalli għadi. Imma fil-verità, Malta, coaching course, or without a coaching course.
Yes, Malta.
Who cares?
Imma you as a coach would be a better coach.
You would be a better coach.
All right.
And then maybe
a
5%,
ħaġa
maybe
waħda
5% better.
Yes, but then maybe you get an opportunity to go and
Sure.
coach in Italy for a
Coach
year,
coach in Italy,
and you
mela-
come back after that opportunity, and you give the experience here. That's why one of my main ideas would be, instead of spending 3 million on a stadium, or ġi vera sabiħ, proset. Kemm nefqu dak il-stadium, 3 miljoni?
Kellu bżonn.
Kellu bżonn, but wasn't the most important thing. Jien dak il-funding kont nabbat. Kif għamlu Iceland. Nabbat 10 players.
U tibgħathom barra.
Barra, urma dak il-klab, firma kontrattaw, għanħalsulek kollox aħna għal sentej, 3 snin, whatever.
Jekk tirnexxi yes,
Jekk tirnexxi.
lura.
Proset, but you have to represent your national team every time you call, jew inkella titħallsilna lura. You want? That's how Iceland improved. Iceland
Issa ma
xamlu.
jkunxaw xi fondi ma.
Fondi kemm trid.
Għax jiena li eżempju, if it's a business, jekk taqal jkun hemm business, it's a business, eżempju, jagħmlu iġibu barranin, tours, turisti, sports tourism, jagħmlu kafeterja sabiħa għall-NBA li qed tiġġenera l-flus, so you're
Kull
making.
rispett dik il-kafeterja barra. Ikun ix-xita, għatorġ tixtri għandna kafe, jew ħadd tixtri.
Kellimni għadi, GSSC,
Mela,
miftuħ taqali,
mela.
għamel mejda bil-birra, biss.
Imma ħanerġa'.
ħanerġa'.
Issa, it needs a total revamp, imma the idea is li ikun hemm xi ħadd hemmhekk full-timer, imma kif
kif
kif ma tħajjarx.
Imma mhux. There are
Right.
schemes that you go around.
Le, mismani,
It's a
jena
different thing.
kif ma titħajjarx, I mean, if I was in his
Le, imma
position.
għaxu għandu l-idejat.
Le, le,
Fim he's
if I was
top.
in his position,
I-
rrit nkun naf. Issa jena, as in I don't know your stance or whatever, imma rrit nkun naf li ma meħammur naħdem.
ħajilqa.
ħajil għawan l-affarijiet li ħanejt jien,
You have
u
no
tu
job security.
U tu rrit kważi li approachjani ju, li għaj li jisma, naf li għandek ċertu idejat, jiena rrid
Willing to
li dan,
vera.
u I empower you, għax inkella jizvek
Anyway,
ħammur jem,
Paul.
għot nġielet.
I believe Paul is good as president because he's good at the political stuff. He's known. He's great with the players. He's the best president there ever was for a player. He knows how to, probably because he was a player. You know, my national team experience with Paul, he took care of me 100%, and he's a guy player. I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is we started this way and we've never changed. It's been a straight line. Well, a straight line. We've always trained like this, so let's keep on training. Yes, but what are the results? The results have always stayed the same. Allora, there has to be a change.
U le, u
Issa, if we do a change, listen, we're going to start training national team once a week. We see what happens. Ara, we improved. We didn't improve, okay, we change again. In life, you make plans and they don't work. It's not bad.
Imma min ħajmexxihom da, Mike?
They need to set
There
some
needs to be
sort of
someone
team.
getting paid. This is a full-timer. What has
What
changed
has
in the last
changed
10
in
years?
the last 10 years?
L-erina rnexxilhom iġibu.
Apart from the court, what has changed? The way we train?
Imma the way we trained, all right, what changed before, mela?
Now, issa, for example,
Actually-
we had a great result of water polo. national team.
Yes.
Why do I have a great result of water polo? Because
Taf x'għamlu
they
water polo?
train.
Ma taf x'għamlu l-water polo?
Xa.
X'għamlu l-water polo? Water polo ġabu coach li bħalissa jgħid il-Mediterranean College of Sport.
Ilhom, water polo ilhom
Catchew.
saying for the last 6 years.
Keċċew, stenna na, keċċew ġiex minn nies 3-4 ta' ċertu età, musaqgħod insemmi smijiet, qabdu għal nazzjonali l-kbar ħan ikkompetu bil-under 19s. U qed jikkompetu bil-under 19s, issa it's been 3 years, so għandhom
They train twice a day. Xemxu xitwa. No matter what. Għaxina konna San Ġiljan konna training fil-5 ta' velodu.
U ħanejdlek xi ħaġa water polo, jien ħabib tiegħi.
Tajlixa xi tħallsu.
Le, tini sekonda, water polo, jekk inti tagħmilha ma 12 qasna f'kemm din, to be honest, ma 12 ta' nazzjonal. Inti tal-li għamil ta' those 12 ta' nazzjonal, you have €100 a month, €100 mhux ħafna, għandek 1200 fis-sena.
Sure, there's possibility to do it.
Tal-li inti ġast jiet ma' nazzjonal.
Water polo jaqbad lek 30,000 ta' sajf ta' mux 200
The money are for it, but they're at a level that they deserve it.
Le, mela,
They're at a level that they deserved it, and they've worked hard for it.
Le,
Daw ta' 13, 14.
But there is the bone that you can get.
But they worked for it before. The bone was not
Issa tagħmel
always there.
30,000
It was not always there. Dave, it was not always there. They started because
Ma tini sekonda.
It's a long
Ma tistax
term.
tikkompara l-water polo. Il-water polo, il-premises tagħhom fejn.
I'm not comparing water polo and basketball as
It's
a
a
result.
business.
I'm
Water
telling
polo
you,
is
yes,
a
but
huge
it wasn't
business.
always. It developed over time. I'm saying that basketball, to start this development, has to start from a young age, getting them educated on that training 3 times a week with the club is
It's
not
not
enough.
enough, definitely.
You should be training 10 times a week. Easy.
Uff.
You know,
Kemm
you train
hawn
10-12
inkapaċi.
times a week.
Kemm hawn inkapaċi.
Issa 10-12 times a week, bil-gym, bil-yoga, with everything.
Konta ma yoga u kol.
No. I wish I did more of that instead of.
Mm.
But we don't train enough. Kif tista' tagħmel 3 sessions a week u logħba once on the weekend and you expect to develop. National team, they train. We don't. We come a month before the tournament and we expect a result.
Nixtieq li jkun hemm xi ħadd forsi xi ħadd qed jismana li jieħu qadaw il-punti li qed ngħidu forsi and actually
But
they
this
do
goes back
something.
again. You cannot start.
do something.
The
about
problem
it.
is you cannot start saying that, all right, we're going to develop the kids. Are there coaches to develop the kids?
Ekku.
No. So that's the problem, meeting each other. So what should be done for the coaches? That's where the association comes in. Coaching courses in Malta, not abroad. Conduct coaching courses in Malta. Conduct
Tagħmel liċenzji eżempju.
licenzi Malta.
Liċenzji li bil-fors biex tagħlem under
Even if you-
14s, you need to go to a course once a year.
Even, even teach them etiquette and ethical things that you cannot do as a coach. Like there was this big thing on the
No.
newspaper. You're saying there's a problem with referees. More courses of referees when there's a weekend off. These things start from the association. What the association does, if it's going to do a coaching course, it's going to affect the club. If it's going to do a refereeing course, it's going to affect the club. Then you can say, all right, I've done the coaching, we're getting more coaches. There's more people to ref. Now I can start focusing on developing the youngsters.
Nixtieq nġibu l-Joseph u l-Paolo. Għax tajjeb li naraw, għax aħna
I think Joseph and Paul have been there. This happens to everyone, to no fault of anyone. They've been there for quite a long time. They need to put in some new blood. They need one to put in a marketing person and pick up the marketing. Ash, it's a disaster. Facebook, you find nothing. All you find is, unfortunately, an Excel sheet of the stat to find a game. It's like playing hide and seek. You know, results. Jekk ma titħolx tfittex,
Il-website is not
Tiħux
user-friendly.
kert jien jew int li ħanitlu naraw minn rebaħ ħibż Luxor jew ħibż Athleta għax jien ġili nidħol. Minn rebaħ.
Ma jkunx hemm anke jien.
And it's not an easy search, it's not something
Ġili
easy.
mur YouTube u nara l-aħħar biċċa tal-YouTube biex nara.
The marketing today the marketing is, if you're not daily or twice a day,
Mela,
you're lost.
Imma again, forsi jismawna, kif ma jkun hemm xi ħadd jitħallas full-timer, ġiex persuni full-timers, aw grant, il-gvern jagħti grant ħalsek il-gvern tal-li tkun full-timer, tal-li tagħmel dawn l-affarijiet.
Ma nafhomx.
Daw, tal-li jkun hemm coach, forsi coach full-timer kif qed tgħid inti semmejta nazzjonali, jiġi every Monday, he's not associated with the club, and he's only associated with coaching national team. Jiġu l-players, il-clubs jaqblu magħha, ikun hemm xi ħadd li it's feasible to do it, daw il-questions that needs to be answered to move forward.
Konverzazzjoni ma' Michael Missut. U għalli qatt ma konna nafa. Kienet jilab barra minn Malta x'imkien. Għalli darba kelli ninżel bi flight dal-ħin u dal-ħin u dal-ħin biex niġi training għal-nazzjonal u mur logħba tan-nazzjonal. Għatlu għax ixtrit. Għalli aħna bil-forsi. Is it the same for Maltese? Can the club
ħatqabbel ilu ma.
Ma this is going back to we either want to be professional and
għala fix-xahar.
Ma għandux jaqsam
Mhux m'għandux jaqsam.
we want to be treated as
X'ma
professional.
tiġix,
We want to be treated as professional and act as an amateur. That's our problem in Malta. We want to be treated up here while acting and pretending as an amateur. If you want to be treated as a professional, act like a professional. Before you target the money, put the work in. It doesn't work the other way around. It doesn't work, ara, ħanaqla mittel fis-sena, let me do it. Doesn't work like that. Not even in work, in life.
Imma kif semma kir, there is a bone. M'hemmx bone.
Mike, what was enough?
Inti x'ħadd
It was never, I was never motivated. Yes, I got paid. I probably got paid quite well in my time compared to what Maltese players are getting now. I don't know, and I'm not going to mention. But it never was anything that motivated me. My motivation was I wanted to be the best player.
Ġifieri inti qed tgħid, alright, naqbel, ġifieri inti qed tgħid li kieku ma kellekx dawk il-flus, xorta kont ħatmur titrejna dak l-ammont, you wouldn't, ma.
Yes, I would.
Ux you would.
Offrowli flus biex nitlaq kemm il-darba. I never left.
Imma ma titx.
Kien hemm żmien ħamrun armaw lef u kull maw. And this is going back to that comment we had on Facebook where you told me għax Virtus Rebco League. It's very easy to win the league once. Especially in Malta, to come up and win the league. Proset. You won the once, twice, fejn din il-Virtus? Ħamrun, nefqu, ma nafx kemm nefqu, ħadu Lomar, Bertu, Ellen Borg, ħadu players kollha ta' Malta, Rebco League. Darba. Fedi. Floriana, nefqu l-flus, ġabbu barran, Fedi.
Valletta.
They're not there. We won the league 9 times. You know, when we're treated in this day and age, we treat a loss or losing or a mistake as something that we have to shy away from. It's not, it's a lesson. Jina meta kont, jina niftakar darba tlift il-lig u ma konx maħrub. Mortu ġew Galja, għatlu ġew sena diħa nerbħu li kun irba' plejta sena. L-għala kont qed nixxutja. Saqsi ġew Galja. That was my motivation, not money. How can I go up to a club and tell them isma?
Imma kemm hawn nies.
How can I go up? That's how it starts from educating. How can I go up to a club and tell them isma? Jina rrid, bu, 10,000 fix-xahar. Jgħidli għaxix. X'għamilt int to deserve 10,000 fix-xahar? You have to start with the foundation. Work hard, become really good, and then ask for what you deserve. It doesn't work the other way around. You know what I'm saying? If money is your motivation, you're going to get nowhere. And not only in basketball.
Imma intom ukoll kellek other motivations. Dit kellimna fuq ukoll. Jien niftakar meta konna bil-kantin, il-ħadd kien dejjem mimli. Issa l-inqas għandek dik in-naqatri li hemm naqanis jaraw.
Ma dik batu in all fairness, that all sports has suffered. Life has changed since then, with the social media and all these things, life has changed.
But basketball naraħin. U anka il-pool ta' players, like, inti tgħid vera, inneħħu l-barranin u jien naqbel magħha, però m'hawnx Maltin to replace.
Imagine, that's going back to the thing of, we're overtraining kids. Itna kids, jien mort nara sessions, ġiġu kontu mur nara sessions. Kids are they go to school. Mela għandek ġurnata 8 sigħat jew kemm l-iskola, teacher jgħidlek poġġi. Tmur id-dar, mela, mur it-training, you're being coached. You go another place, you're being coached again. They're not having fun. Sa 13, 14, you're being overcoached. Mela, basketball and more football, another coach. When are they having fun? Up to 12, 13, all you should be teaching them is fundamentals, pivots, layups, and play. Have fun. If you're overcoaching them, they're going to hit 16, they're burnt out. Ta' bizlu. U bat jitaqa ma baġi u jitaqa merba tiħbib jgħidu li joħroġ, jew tfajliet, jew... You're going to stop. That's what's happening. And we're not a country that is big enough to afford a drop of 15%. As if you get to senior level and there's a drop, I understand it. Because not everyone can take it at senior level, it gets harder. But at a junior level, are we overcoaching? Are they having fun? I doubt it. Because the sessions I've seen, personally, it's all plays, 3v3s, and set plays at 12. I've seen it, Dave.
Crazy.
You just have
l-istudju
fun.
jerġa' jgħid li suppost sa 12-13 you do not basketball, you do
just
athletics,
play.
football, volleyball,
Issa,
hockey,
unfortunately, da mux bħali, I don't know, in your time, aħna konna nilabu fit-triq. You can't do it anymore, so it's becoming even harder and harder. So kids are dropping out more and more. And in all sports, not, more nara l-football, more nara l-football, more nara nazzjonal. Istess. Għadda, da ma kellhom under 10 kontet nara. Et jamlu tactics, under 10. Under 10 tactics. Għadda, da se jiftakar. You know what I mean? We're tiring and burning out kids at an early age. Plus, a lot of kids, when you have sessions of 30, 40 kids, I was a late developer. I became good when I grew at 15, 16. If I was in the age groups now, with a block of kids of 30 and the coach ignored me, I probably would have stopped. Actually, more training, right? The head coach is giving the attention to all the good kids. I'm with a parent who miskin is trying to do his best, mux qed naqla attenzjoni. Kont imur għand missier probabbli ngħid l-isma' pa. Timur nilgħab il-futbol jien, nipprova futbol. This it goes back to having all these problems interlinked with each other. That are causing one big problem.
How to solve it is the...
How to solve it?
Naħseb li tibda milli l-association minn 1 trid tikber għal 6.
Dik we agree.
Bil-fors.
6, 7.
Jien naħseb ta'
Ma naħsibx.
let's say 4 eżempju, ma bil-fors.
I think 2 full-timers will do...
Għax jgħidu inti x-xogħol tiegħek ikun parti mix-xogħol tiegħek mir-rowl ikun li pereżempju at under 14, 12, 10, whatever, tmur li pereżempju Starlights għandhom coach u assistant coach li għamlu dal-kors u you drop in tara this session kifet inti pereżempju meta għamilt il-coaching out teaching course ikollok dik li jiġi tara x'inhu jagħmel da.
The association has to set the standards and offer kif qed jgħid Kurt, number 1 coaches. Get coaches, ex-players, whatever they are, learn how to coach and get a volume of coaches that can coach. There are coaches that should not be coaching. With respect, they should not be coaching. You get a certain level of coaching, then these coaches will start spreading out onto teams. Then you have a group of 30 kids and you have, with every 10 kids, you should have 1 coach. That's the rule of law. These are the things.
Ma tħanajdlek xi ħaġa oħra. U kont ma' club kont nikkoachja jiena. I consider myself a good coach. Għandi teaching degree, ili nagħlem 10 snin logħba nafa whatever. Kemm taħseb li kont naqla? Semmi ammont. Kont nagħmilhom 3 sessions a week u logħba, once every 2 weeks. Kun honest, kemm taħseb li kont naqla?
20 an hour?
Fix-xahar.
Fix-xahar, 3 sessions a week, 20.
Mhux 20 an hour imma.
Ħanara, kemm taħseb, Mike?
60 a week.
6, 12, 18,
240.
24.
240.
Kont naqla 150, Mike. Kont nagħmilha għax I wanted to coach.
Because you love the game. But then...
Because I love the game. But other priorities will kick in.
That's another problem. That's another problem that the clubs face. The lack of basketball courts. So they're all competing. They're all competing for the same courts. You know what I mean? A club has to have those 30 kids, even if they have 1 coach, because they can't afford to pay the rent. So it's It's a double-edged sword.
Illi kont ħanejlek b'150 euro. Min ħajmurlek 3 darbit fil-ġimgħa coaching, logħba 4 times a week. Min ħajmurlek jekk ma tkunx ifissar?
Jiena
X'livell ħatilħaq bħala
meta
coach?
waqaft jien offrowli coaching. There was a club that offered me to coach this. I said no, it's not worth my time.
Mhux hekk.
Għalek, imma
Because I have
għalek
too much to do. And
dejjem ngħid li clubs they have to run as a business.
I think the example has to come from the association first. At this stage. Because the club
Ma
comes.
jistgħux jituk aktar minn 150. Possibbli. Le, jien l-istess sitwazzjoni kont. Ma possibbli.
Jiena fil-fatt bdejt rott oħra issa. Sindenti għax għandi livell ta' coaching u bat rott oħra. Qatt ma jaqbillek terġa' tmur ma' club, qatt ma jaqbillek terġa'.
A club li għandek they have their own expenses and so
Imma
on.
hekk waqta barrani u investihom
F'coach.
f'coach li tieħ 350-400 l-inqas.
Jew jekk ħaġġib 3 barranin. When they come, sign the contract,
Mela,
and they have
jiti
to
coach,
coach.
jew.
Whether they're giving something.
Insomma,
Jew
jekk
jekk
il-players taħsibx li jekk ta' jiena
I know, but
nafna players, Mike, jiġu jgħidlek isma' I'm not a coach, I'm a player.
Yes, I understand it. I never wanted, xaħat kien darba meta konna nilab l-axħar 2-3 years. Għalli coach, I never thought a player and a coach can be a good dynamic at once. A player coach never
coach, coach.
Because your attention
Jiena to be
has to
honest,
be...
is-sena l-oħra meta coach jgħid peress li weġġajt kontu rajt, għax jisu weġġajt ma bdejtx nilab, allura jisu għajkud imma kieku qed nilab u qed nikcoach jgħid too much għalija.
No, it's too much.
It's too much. Biex nipprova nlaħħaq ma' tnejn.
Coaching takes a lot of time. Takes a lot of time.
Jien nitħajjar ħafna nkun coach, forsi xi head coach ta' xi club xi ħaġa, vera nitħajjar, it takes a lot of time, imma tkun financially worth it, Mike.
Yes.
Da, jiena sħabi involuti fil-futbol.
But
Da,
if the game is
isma'
not
di.
going to become more popular,
Imma isma' di, sħabi involuti fil-futbol, ma tax nikkomparaw il-basketball mal-futbol. Taf kemm jaqla head coach? Head coach tal-futbol, tal-nursery, tal-ħamum, ta' whatever.
30.
Ma jaqlax forsi derdi, ma jaqlalek 1500, 1000 euro, da part-time qed ngħidu ta'.
But the game has to
X'ma
become...
tagħmilx courses.
The game has to become more popular first.
Mhux hekk.
This is again,
Yes,
setting the
I
foundations before you ask for the prize. You cannot get the prizes.
So, to become more popular.
more incentives from the association, as we're saying. They can come up with a lot of things to make the game more popular. Number one, social media. It's a disaster. Marketing. It's a
Imma
disaster.
taħseb li social media ħaġġal tifel.
You start attracting more people, yes, for sure.
Jiena għandi sħabi ħafna, jisegwu ħafna NBA u hekk, like jiena xnejdilhom jien ġelhom jiġu jarawni, imma they would follow kieku hemm, like kieku ittihom top 5 place ta' Malta eżempju, taf kif every week jien naf kellhom da sena media għaliex ma jaħdimx naqma l-NBA sena media.
I'm sure if they can't
U there was a conversation.
afford,
Imma
I'm sure there are
one-sided
students.
conversation.
You get students in university,
Mela,
marketing students in
kellem
university.
Internship, jien kieku jien tħallasnix.
Parti mill-course.
Għadnik
There
miflok
was a guy,
tkellemna
he
għamilt
does the
internship
clips.
mal-gig. Kieku miflok mal-gig għamilta magħhom. Żgur kont nagħmilha għax għalija I'm working in what I love to do.
Kien hemm wieħed qed jagħmel eclipse fuq.
Da, sana media.
He does a good job.
Il-qaħbel.
That's a very good job.
They never approached him biex jagħmlu ġaġa.
Għax nasib darba kien batli xi ħaġa u n-Instagram tiegħek. Things like this guy. Isma', we can't offer you much, but you have free access to everything you want. You have €100 a month, whatever, just pocket money to cover some posts, you know? How many things do they post online? How do they create that enough David Bugeja ħajtaqa kontra Kurt? You know, next weekend come and watch creating a rivalry. These rivalries you see here. You think these are all real rivalries? Half of them are marketing. Half of them are marketing. These probably behind the scenes are all best friends. But you have to start from the base.
We have stress ta' play even easier to do something like that, naħseb jien.
I'm sure there are things to do, but unless we make the game popular, we cannot go and say, għax qed jitħallas hekk. Make the game popular from the association side. Players need to train much harder. 3 times a week is not going to do it.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
So there has to be a guidance. Why are there certain players that are probably younger age that are better? Because their father was a player and he knows what it takes. Why are they always the best players? Steve twilet fil-basketball. Jien ma twilx fil-basketball, missikin għab il-futbol. So I didn't know what training in. You know, Kurt Kassar, twilet fil-basketball, jien daħaltu fit-tazza Kurt. You know, so there's a level, but they understand earlier that you have to train more. Issa, some it will work, some will burn out, but at least if you make the game popular, you have a bucket of 5,000, not a bucket of 500. If you allek 10% of 500, you allek 10% of 5,000, you still have a bucket to play in.
U isma l-percentage huwa gravi, jiena minn 97 jien nilab, jien u Luke Farrugia. Daqsek. U mux forsi jien għandi 28 issa alright, imma 22-year-olds l-istess percentaġġ hemm tlieta li għadhom jilagħbu. Ila 22-year-old generation kif jista' jkun?
But there are other things I don't agree with when I go and watch games that tightly, maybe it's because I'm Maltese. If there is a Maltese player on the bench and a European player on the bench and they're the same level, as a coach I play the Maltese. Why the coaches play jiena mort nara logħba u kien hemm wieħed, I don't know, he was European or something, da daħal jilgħab ir-rugby. Rugby kien jilgħab. Because he was European, you're playing him more. The other guy was better. Put him in. Why? Because he's from I'm not going to say names because it's not fair on them. But and every coach has their own opinion. But if they're the same level, I give advantage to the Maltese guy. And he's young. He was 16 or 17, I think. And I saw him play. He's quite good. And I give him a chance. There you are. And the sliding tackles.
Il-coach tiegħek qatt ma ta' ċans jista' ħafna laqqas.
Tiegħi?
Kien hemm ħafna
We came
players
up.
li nħarqu taħba fih ukoll.
Yes, we came up in a different era. You guys came up in we came up in an era where he could tell you anything, and you couldn't open your mouth. You know, and me and Joe had in the start we had a very shaky relationship. That he played under Joe. But you came up in an era where now it's very, very touchy. You have to be careful to say run faster or look helma because he's going to get offended. I'd get more offended if the coach told me nothing. Roger Frosting darba he told me get offended when the coach doesn't speak. No, Joe Gallia was tough on a lot of players and a lot of players stopped. But if you could take him, he knew the game inside out. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that the characters, and this is a worldwide phenomenon, be it social media or whatever, it has changed. We're becoming more, let's say, softer.
I'm not doubting li kemm kien tajjeb bħala coach, imma ħafna pereżempju Cesco kellu jitlaq biex get a name for himself qatt ma taħ ċans.
Tal-parametri? No, I don't. Not really.
Għalxiex ma jaqbdux l-association bom. Cesco kien jaqbad jgħidlu minn tisa tilab ġew.
There has to be a certain
Isma' di ta' fejn tiġri tal-parametri. Malta u ġibilta biss ta'.
there has to be something. You know, li ma naqbilx tan-nurseries. If I'm paying to train with Rabat, I'm paying, or I'm paying to train with Athleta, why should there be parametri? I'm paying you, I'm free to go.
No.
So I'm not sure how it works, you know, but all I remember is that when I was 32, 31, I got a bit tempted to leave, there was it, and I wanted to do a players association. Because it's very important that there's a players association. The only problem was that maybe 20, 25 players, men and women came to meet and we spoke and meta ġissu no, spiċċajt waħdi. No one showed up.
No.
So I said, what for? I'll do my own thing. Do what you want. I had no problem. I had no worry that I wasn't going to play. It wasn't about money for me. I probably fought with Joe and he told me something. I had one week we're not talking. Actually, now Joe dejjem ikkonna 1 week qed nitkellmu. But we're so similar in characters, I think that.
Mux għużdant, peress li l-komunità hija żgħira ħafna, anka bda l-podcast fil-verità, jisu meta ngħid ċertu affarijiet jien, jew jgħid ċertu affarijiet.
Yes, you have to be
Stepping on people toes u li faċli jgħidulek eħe, allura
That's
in-nies
another
se jkunu
problem.
miegħek
That's another
fil-Player
problem.
Association.
Yes, that's
Għax anka
another
di żgħira tal-parking. I'm sure li it doesn't go down well.
problem. But I agree with you 100%.
Yes, imma finalment.
Yes, but that's a problem we have and why we never develop. Because in Malta, so this is not basketball only, if you don't agree with someone or you have your own opinion on something, it means that you're against that person.
Mux hekk. It's not at all. Mux hekk.
Isma, jek
No
David,
personali.
jek David jaħseb li l-aħjar mod biex jilab loba huwa biex iddaħħal 5 point guards, dak l-opinjoni ta' David.
Mux hekk.
Jiena ħanajt il-David, jien ma naqbilx miegħu.
Eżatt, eżatt.
Mux
M'għandux għalfejn jieħu għalih. Mat il-Malta, sfortunatament, jekk tgħid xi ħaġa ħażina, jieħdu għalihom. Have you ever seen a game? So we don't see it in Malta. In America you see it a lot, jekk tara ta' Shaq u ta' Barkley. Kemm jgħidu kontra players wara logħba għax lab ħażin. Għattara Malta, kulħadd jibża jgħid.
Mux hekk.
Għax dak
Isma, tajx li ma jkidnaw di lab ħażin għax taf kemm jieħu għalih.
Mux hekk.
Jew jinnafu Omar Sajd lab ħażin. Omar kien jgħidli lili. Alla ma jekx logħba disaster għandek. Hey, we make up for it. Ma we had the character that we used to say. Joe kien ipoġġina u jaqlanna one by one, ma nafx hekk you went through it. You sit down.
It was very good fil-verità. Tafx kien jagħmel Joe Gallian top, ħadd ma kien jagħmel, kien jaqbad A3. Jipprintjalek l-istess.
L-istess jien konna nagħmluhom.
L-istess jimmarkalek aħmar, eżempju free throws, tkun inqas minn 50% aħmar. Assist tkun 8 aħdar. Percentage tiegħek jew turnovers aħmar. U jibda jdulek one by one, Kert. X'għamil daw? U tibda le.
If you're not going to,
This
this is
used
where
to make you accountable for what you do.
this is where you're going back to that thing that we say that we have become a loss is a disgrace. You do a mistake, it's a disgrace. There are lessons, Cliff and I lost so many games, but you learned from everyone.
No.
It's nothing to be embarrassed about that you lose or that you did a mistake. If you do something bad, yes, fine, but you have to learn. Say it more until coach, and he's not that type of coach. Maybe he's the wrong coach.
No.
But Joe was honest enough, and I think that John Taboni can list this. Jekk għala ċamil zbal, ħanajdlek. Now you have to be very careful.
Iva, Mike, waqafna. Għarek, naf li Joe u inti għandkom relazzjoni tajba, I respect Joe għal-kem karatterament ma naqblux miegħu. Imma hemm mod kif tgħidha Mike.
Ezreq,
I'm sorry,
yes.
Għax il-generation tagħhom tista' tgħid.
But some people get
it.
Joe,
Bas naqalina, ma tistax tifel tmur u ċabċab il-uffiċċju Mike. Mike, ma tistax. Mike, tgħid li tista' tkun fucking Popovic. Ma tistax tagħmilha. Għax inki kull coach jagħmelek it-tifel tiegħi jimmur jiena u ngħid li x'għamilt it-tifel. Pom muntielu jiena.
Just imma kien hemm coach.
Physical.
Over the line.
Physical over the line. 100% wrong. But at that time in Malta, Anzi, you didn't get the times when there used to be the fights and all that. You missed them. You were still young. Went to Ali, you couldn't find somewhere to sit down. Inkun nitħat Ali and you'd have to sit on the ledge. Inti tiftakar nasir. Tiftakar Mr. Tiftakar mżgur. Ma konx isir fej poġġi. Ma konx isir. Uġliet.
Imma, imma.
It was a different time.
Li kien hemm dawk in-nies kollha, eżem, ara xtrillu kol tilab. Jien kemm taħseb li inti kont tilab every week qudiem dawk in-nies, jiena labt 4 darbiet ta' li kien mimli sew f'ħajti, għalax differenza. Anka motivation li mela.
Jiena niftakar l-ewwel darba li nżilt nilab, kien niżilni Joe. Għasab kien weġġa xi ħadd u nżilni l-ewwel darba. U qed nagħmel warm-up kelli 15. U missiri kien president. U qed nisma' n-nies jgħajruni.
Bissieri.
Nawdi. U kliem ħażin. Ta' 15 kont modoffi. U ma konsinab. Għatma kont ħanilab. U poġġejt bil-qedek. U bajt lobek. Imma it built my character. But I loved it, the more people there were, I enjoyed playing.
Sabiħa.
Meta morna Eurocup barra, kena il-banka hawnhekk u mbagħad kien hemm l-ultras eżatt warajna. U kif toħroġ mill-logħba jew whatever il-ħin kollu jgħajruk jissuttawna, imma it's nice taf kif.
Serja ċila erba kellhom niftakar botna logħba, ma niftakarx fejn konna ġela, niftakar Mario Tabone kien iġġieled mal-playmaker tagħhom. Ħallowna sejja fiċ-changing room. Stajniex noħorġu. Għax kienu ħajkluna kollha, u ma konna post għallija li isma'. Sidder, bi kwajiet, għamilna sija fiċ-changing room nistennew biex noħorġu.
Dawk ma stayers bi.
Sejja was the best. And the players they were.
Ma konċ.
Ejdilna,
basketball, la misterek ma kienx.
Jissir kien jgħaf futbol.
Di suppost ġit
Jiena kon nilab futbol, waterpolo u basketball. Futbol ma slima, basketball ma Athleta ftit u waterpolo ma Neptunes. Waterpolo għatma kien jirġobni. I think it was too hard for me at that age, it was too much training. But Julian beda basketball.
U bdejt maħu.
Bdejt niġu għalija. Naħseb għalek nilab 4. Għaxu kien 5 u rrit numru. Biex nkun viċin.
Ta' Julian, kem għalali. Kem għalali. Għax ma tfajnex fit-top 10. Xin exercise.
Għassi ma daħlu top 10. Għalek.
Iġveri ħabba ħuk sort.
Ħabba hija. Batlu darba li jarbaħtlu naħseb 1-on-1. Taf eġin twalt, ta' 15-16 twalt. Konsi fil-Ġenoa nazzjonal, għatma kont erbaħtlu 1-on-1. Nżilt minn Ġenoa u erbaħtlu. U għet nerbaħlu. U konet nilabu St. Patrick's niftakar xrabna bil-knisja biex nilabu fuq wara. U ħatlu rebound u fqajtlu għaw. U għalli għalek erbaħli, għalek għamilta. Stajwat jgħajni.
Sabiħ tkun kompetittivi, ekku. Ġili labt kontra Hawk.
U erbaħtlu kull darba. Kien marma l-melliħa. Kien jemsmin marma l-melliħa. Kien waqaf u bat reġa bedda. Ma jisket.
Kif kull basketball player għandu ligu?
Muġek. U għara kem nasab kontu t-tilabu ħafna da kontu zaħru, kontu t-trenja u flimkien.
Kiku ma kienx għal Julian, ma konx jien niftakar Julian ta' 15-16 et jgħamil push-ups u jien najda xinu jgħamil. You know why? He was always wanting to train, always wanting to shoot. U jiena ta' little brother, għon niġu għarajx, I ended up bigger, I ended up taller. I think as a talent, he was probably better.
Istra?
I had more of the physical and the confidence to play. Ftakar Joe, my first game against Luxor when I was really young at 16, the time they were even at did his best, U Joe kien daħalni 5 minutes u għadu jisemmi li samlu. Ivan Attar kulħadd kien jibża minnu. Kont ħalt. Bum, għamil ġiċ ta' 16, ma bżajx minnu xej.
Karattru.
Kelli dak il-karattru li jisma. What can go wrong? Għaj missu.
Ma ħanek dak naqstu forzi, din naħseb il-ħat minn tajjena. Meta mort mid-dapiro, jiena għal ma'kom. Xok biru. Da fil-li għet nitrenja ma' Isaac Tanti, ma' Rodrik, ma' Lupo. U fil-li mort maħħom jiena daw. U ma stajx niskolja ballon da maħħom l-ewel. Xarejn tara jiena Madonna. Insomma, u darba minnhom inti fil-bidu kien, kont qed li għamilha qabel it-training. Qed li sa tagħmel jiena. Konna morna, konna nittrejnjaw Santa Monica, tiftakar jew le?
Tiftakar Santa Monica?
Konna morna, minn Santa Monica da xi sija u kwart qabel it-training.
Inkontem nipprova mur kmieni.
Għax biex tara x'livell għandu għalhekk he's considered as the GOAT. Konna ġogjajnija. Minn Santa Monica, morna l-front. Tal-gżira. Morna l-front tal-gżira. Isma di, jena minti konna. Morna l-front tal-gżira. Naħseb kienet iktar minn sija għor. Il-ġogjajnija sa fej kien jaħdem ġewgalja, sa Dragonara. Għamilna workout jem, jiena
Mejja.
ek mal-art mejjet u da sejn bosta da zzar ta' finti. Iġġogani għallura u kellna session wara. Ġviri, you used to do it every time. Ġviri, inti
I used to do that from
biex tara l-level ta' fitness li kellu.
From 29 onwards, I used to do. Joel used to ask me. He used to phone me and ask me not to go to the gym before training. So I used to run to the gym, train, go home.
Naħseb, kont tagħmel aktar aktar minn 5K.
6K I used to do.
6K naħseb kien fi
6K,
aktar
6K.
ta'.
I know it by heart, 6K.
Minn Santa Monica sa' Dragonara,
The problem
sa'
was-
Westin,
The
u
problem was
l-ura,
I didn't
workout
just-
hemm il-ġim, l-ura u bat tiġi tibda iżżalbu jiena.
Dabba minn ta' kontra da, wara l-għu kontra da.
Nastja. Ma dejjem you had the physical advantage over everyone. U niftakar anka kontra l-barranin.
Inti ħadni tajk, xina mill-tis.
U le,
Id-discs.
tajjeb ħafna
Jena
jiena.
għamilt id-discs ta' 19, I used to jump much more.
Nastja. U hija ma ta' 19.
19 għamilt id-discs.
Ta' 19 ma kontx player.
Le, 2021 għamilt id-discs.
Istja, xorta zaħir.
Wara li għamilt serja ċi.
Istja.
Ostra.
Qabel ma mort l-Amerika kont ħassej ġibda fil-groin.
U kif mort l-Amerika? How did that
L-Amerika
come out?
Dak
Le,
Roger,
Ma naħseb. Kontattili darba.
xiex li kif morna
Kif
mek.
mort inti u sif kif sibtu l-kontatti.
Dak kien hemm Roger Fast.
Aha.
U kontatlu, għatlu. U kien hemm at the time kien hemm l-association jriduni persi konet nilabu serja ċi. Kont ħanilab, jew kienu qed jippruvaw idaħluni fil-All-Star Game ta' serja ċi.
Istra.
Kien hemm il-maġistrat at that time and he told me, "Isma, you want I try and get you a team in Italy and you can choose either go to Italy," and I was telling Roger, he told me, "You want to go to
US.
the US?" And there was Steve and we both said, "Why not?"
Kam kellek żmien? 1920?
98, 99, I was 18, I think. 18 or
Istja.
19.
U mort
ġurnata.
The problem was the place, but I went, kellna friendly qabel ma tlaqt minna u nasib xar qabel ma tlaqt minna u kellna friendly. Iftakar kont tilan u rajt il-kombinazzjoni Marko Merġija u għat minn flok minn dejab dankja. And I'll hold on just a bit biex jgħaddi u ninżel. U ġbit il-groin. U ħassej
Right
ġbit
before
fil-groin.
going.
Right before going, a month before going. ħadd xarof. U meta bdejt dejjem groin. U dejjem ġim off ġimiva. U bad kien ġi tournament hemmhekk u ma kontx labt. U kien qabadni breakdown għax konna ġod desert. Kont ċepit lil
Fej kont?
Montana.
Montana.
Cowboy country, dam mux
Vera
it-tassa.
sabiħ jgħajdu.
Bellezza, kiku għandi, kiku murissa, niħu pjaċiri, għax hemmhekk kitu ma ta' 18. You know, it's too quiet. And once I was in training, I said, "Listen, I have to go home." Ġejt lura, labt. Inżil, labt il-semifinals out, and the next season I did the surgery.
Ostja madonna.
U kif kont hemmhekk bħala level? How did you cope fis-sens?
Yeah, I played those first 5, it was good. Kien hemm atleti, that's what I'm telling you. The level is, we think we're good.
Ambizjoni biex terġa' tmur u tibqa' traj jisu.
But ma nafx, jisu mbata jisu lost. Għalek għatlek between 21, 24, I kind of lost interest. Mbatt kienu offroad li biex kont mort trial ma Trapani, kont mort ġimatej ma Trapani, kien hemm il-National Team Coach tal-Latvija. Banki u kabanki. Kienu tajbin. U Malta, naqas niftakar data, Malta kienu diħlin fl-EU. Allura jien kont mort Trapani, with the hope li ħanilab bħala Taljan. U kienu għaduwe. Waqt li kont hemm kienu telaw kienu nizlu nazzjonalisti konna ħriġna mill-EU għal sentej. Ma konniex tħallna, jew xi ħaġa kienet. U meta kont hemm qalli l-coach, għal issa ġejt barrani. Qed nikkompeti ma kienu ħejġibu l-Komatsek, ma tiftakrux, kienu wieħed mill-aqwa players fl-Ewropa.
Issija saw għaduwe kont qed tmur tajjeb xorta.
Bħala Taljan kont
Mhux xorta.
kont nilab dak il-10 forsi 10 minutes.
Xorta tajjeb
It would have been good.
Level.
U bat kont
Għalek li jgħetni, l Malta m'għandniex, jekk bdejt minn serja ċed uno. hemm bidue, hemm biuno, hemm ador. M'għandniex hekk aħna.
But we don't have the volume of doing it.
Yes, yes.
That's why we have to do what other countries are doing. Like Andorra, they went to play in third division Spain. Gibraltar, the same thing. Iceland, abdu 10, 20 of them and they kick them out of the country. But who have scholarships l-Amerika.
Għara fuq Andorra, il-first division tagħhom. Tafu fejn jilagħbu.
Spanja.
Ma Spanja, ma top division kontra u
Ma they were always
fejn
like that.
aħna nazzjonali. L-aħħar darba
Ma mhux dejjem hekk kienu
anka s-sit sta jdaħlu apposta tagħhom kondi sek ma kalf karozza. Is-sit sa max l-aħħar darba kont qed nara dak li kien ġie jittrenja mhux jittrenja li lab kontrina Jones. Jones tal-Armenja. Kien skur jaħseb xi 40 punt.
Nafu,
Ma
that's what
you have to get more. Qed jiġu dawk it-tip ta' players f'Andorra jilagħbu hemm livell anke għall-fans.
Kellna players hekk kienu jiġu. Barranin.
Ħalli għamil barra.
Doug Jones. Aħna rajna players hekk. Intkom ma tiftakruhomx. Tim Britt, Anthony Jones, Roger Fasting, Dwayne Molyneux, George Scott. Dawk kieku jiġu issa jagħmlu lek 80 punt. Easy.
Jien ma
punt relax, punt relax.
Dwayne Molyneux għamel 70 meta kienet fi żmienna. Niftakar. So, trust me, the level kellna Lin meta kien ġi Lin. Tiftakru Lin. Ma tiftakruhomx. So, and they say that even before those there were other very, very good ones. Don Ross fi żmien. Don Ross kien. Stilla, jien niftakar ġi Promotion Cup miegħi Don Ross li fikbu fuq. Jiena nazzjonal hekk ditt tiegħi. Nazzjonal konna tilgħin ġibilta. Weġġa Silvio, Steve kellu eżamijiet. Weġġaw xi 3 players oħra, u Filip ma kellux choice, kellu jilagħbi. U labt. Minn hemm, I never look back. But the level of player, Don at 40 u ma nafx kemm kellu għatilhom kollha. Tfal ta' nax kulħadd jaqbeż wara u Don Ross jitfal, he was super player. The level of foreigner was a complete different ballgame. Don't consider it.
Jimma eżempju Ted.
Ted which one? Ġina ma
Ted
Li
tal-Hips.
għat jaqbes u jiġri.
But he's a great athlete. There's a great athlete and there's a great player. They're two different things. So if you have a great player and a great athlete, you always choose the great player.
Per eżempju, inti labt ma' Vincent Page. Athleta. Labt ma' meta kellna minn tlet barranin. Per eżempju, jina li Vincent kien aħjar minn Ted.
I'm sure there are some good ones, but the level overall was much higher. Much higher. You're talking Final Fours, NCAAs, First Division Germany, Roger Kimmar, Lynn had gone to the UK. You're speaking a very high level. So
U fil-verità, when you think about it, di dejjem ngħidha, bej player li jilgħablek B1 u player li jilgħablek A2, it's a percentage.
Yeah.
Small 3%, 4% better.
You all see the best players. But the majority of the team is not the best player. The majority of the teams are the role players. The most important players on a team are role players. You get those one-off scorers that are the key, but the most important to make a team work. If you had to ask, the players I enjoyed playing most with are the guys that worked really hard, the guys who jump out of the court to grab the ball, those workers. I used to love playing, for example, with Tino Riolo or Duncan Kushkiri. They give you 110% every time. Even Peter Schultz, the only thing he had, if he gave you too much. And sometimes he give you 180% and he goes all Peter Schultz mode, you know what I mean? But he was a great person to have on a team.
No.
He had that level that if he goes overboard, it's a bit too much. But if you kept him on control, it was great to have. And I loved playing with those players. But the level, it changed. That's why I tell you the top 10 is very hard to do. I played before, and I remember you guys playing. It's really hard. So you mentioned players like Nathan and these. I can't take a Nathan. Let's say you take a Nathan and compare him to a Mario Tabone. I'll take a Mario Tabone as a point guard every time. Every time, because Mario was.
Kemm nixtieq kieku kellna era hekk tagħna.
Jien niftakar Mario.
Best kontra era tagħhom
It was that's
Wow,
it's
man.
very Leonard posted on the chat and he said it's very hard to do because they're great players. Yes, but I play against them both. You have a so you take it by position. Nathan is a point.
Ma stax taqbel Nathan meta labt kontri Hint.
But I've watched them now.
Yes.
I watch them now and I know.
Nathan ta' 16
The problem with a lot of players now as well is that, and I suffered from this as well. A lot of players are in shape, but they're not in shape for basketball. I did that, and Joe used to tell me, and I never used to do it. Kien żmien, if is-sajt nerfa' weights.
Ma tistax
You cannot. I was in great shape, but I was not in shape for basketball. I was weighing 105 kilo at 6'3", playing basketball. The damage you're doing to your body, I should have been 93. When I got older, I reduced. I said, okay. So I started doing those runs and doing those workouts. Now I saw
kellek il-guidance tajjeb laqqas inti ma.
the education was different. Now you go on YouTube and you find how to train and everything. We didn't have it. You know, if you go to the
Ma
NBA.
immaġina kieku kellek kif qed tgħid inti, kif qed issemmi inti forsi jiġri kieku Michael Nawdi llum għandu 15. U n-nazzjonali qed ituh coach kapaċi, qed ituh strength and conditioning coach.
My biggest
Qed program, nutrition based.
Oh, it's a different
You know,
story.
you would have been a different Michael Nawdi.
I was my own worst playing and training. I was my own, jokingly, you are your own worst enemy, even in the game. I'd create things to try too hard that made me play worse, for example. You know what I mean? Even training-wise, I'd overdo it to play better, not training in the proper way. Now I went to watch a few games. There are players, they look strong, but either they're doing, I don't know, there's this gen of CrossFit or they're lifting too much weights. And I said, I like so I have big legs. They're too heavy for the game. They're too heavy for basketball. I don't want to mention players, but they're in shape, but you're not in basketball shape. There's a difference. Jekk tmur fl-Europa tar players 6'6" that are weighing 84 kilos, 83 kilos. And then we say, għax jabżu da. Because they're as strong as you with
20 kilos less.
20 kilos less. Same problem we had.
Vera.
So we have to learn how to train smart. More and smart. Li ma tistax titrainja kuljum, yes you can. It's how you train that matters. So like 1 day of yoga, you know, next day you have to do cardio, next day you have to do basketball, you know, you have to mix it up. But if my best season was when I weighed between 93 and 95. The rest of my career I was always 100, 98, 100, heavy, which wasn't good.
I think it helped the way you played. Għax intaħ kont tħobb tilab misfel.
I think
shoulders,
yes, but that was a mistake. That was a mistake. I think I blame Joe. If I wasn't as hard-headed as I was, I would have suffered more. As you know, at 15, Joe used to always put me 4. And this was a habit that coaches had. He's the big boy in the team. It's 4. You know, I remember Adrian had the same. It 4, it 5. Oh, until 15, ħallih bil-ballun, ħallih jidribel
Tu kont toqgħod tixtri teatriz sejjerek?
Not sejjerek, number 1 on 10, not sejjerek. Le, ma trees. I used to shoot trees when I was.
Ma dak is.
Trees were entertaining.
Your era, basketball, ma big guys, feed the big guy, jekk jgħalqu kumbat, spalla balla.
Which I still think is the correct way to play. I prefer that game. We're too much emphasizing the trees. Sometimes it takes over a game.
Jien ma naqbilx miegħek, jien li naqbel bħala irid kollok a philosophy of coaching, indix tip ta' coach inti.
Yes,
you want plays every time. Jiena li jekk għandi a point guard, qed nafda fil-point guard, if it was me coaching, fast break, sip il-one-on-one, m'għandekx il-one-on-one, hemm xi ħadd mismatch, ġibu ġewwa l-mismatch.
Yes.
That's
But first the one-on-one.
Yes.
Not the first option is a 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in America, kena coach, he had another system. It was run the lanes. The 2 had a rule. You run that lane. If you get the ball and you don't shoot, you sit down.
Right, yeah.
Kena player niftakar għadmu nisira. He shot 11 threes, he missed them all. Ma ħarġux minnu. Għalli, that's his job. Issa jek jidħol. That was his job. Kena, xismu, inti ħabtu Paolo Di Fonso. He had his own system. Jien u Tevin. Jekk noħroġ jien, jidħol Tevin. Steve kien ma miegħek naħseb.
Mija kien Steve.
I don't agree with that.
Place, yeah.
Peter kien ma Josh. Meta ħajla Peter.
Per eżempju, Defonso kien ikun ekstra ġieli. Ma taħsibx kif.
Defonso kien hemm language barrier.
Imma kif kien jitkellem.
U super fuq.
Kien ekstra.
Tafx livell li titkellem ta' coach. Ta' European Championship.
Isma.
U bat jiġi Malta. U bat jiġi Malta u ngħidulu isma'. Change your system. The players have to change the system.
Not system. Jena ngħidlek how he spoke to
Ija ma
people.
mhux kulħadd ħajkollu karattri.
Ma Mike, inti
Għax ma players li ma qbilx magħhom.
100%.
You're always going to find the coaches. You're never going to agree with
Le,
them.
mhux hekk, le.
Aħna ġi Spanjol darba jikkoach għana ġi għal-pajjiżi żgħar. Li fjajt kontra players l-ewwel ġurnata jiġi, diġà beda jgħajjar players kollha. Għallu waqas wasal. Niftakar ġew qabżitlu darba fil-logħba, qabad il-ħamsa tal-Benbrook, itlu, għamil place tagħna. U bdejna nabu aħjar. Ġibnitna.
Le, mhux hekk.
You're always going to have a problem. If you're going to be a professional in a sport, you have to shut up and listen to the coach. Jekk inti għati coach.
Jena mhux sistema, ma
Għat jgħidlek hekk, għax jiena u Kurt, konna taħt, Pakjere. Inti ma konċ taħtu, Pakjere.
Meta rtirajt jindi.
Imma ġenju kien, u ma kienx jgħid, mela kien jitkellem hekk soft spoken, jgħidlek, mhux għax karattru, coach tajjeb has to adapt to the players as well, Mike.
As well, but it's
Jien ma naqbilx miegħek li players adapt to the coach. Jiena nsidejtek, no,
It has to be both ways.
A bit of both ways. I think it's more the coach. Isma, I have a tall team, most of them. I have a fast team.
Il-bakka ma kienx jgħajjat. Ġena l-iktar coach li ma nazzardax. Mela nagħmel xi ħaġa li ma jgħidlix ta' għax ħanpoġġi u mhux ħanpoġġi.
Jiena ġejt
Court tournaments.
Jiena let me mention your group because when I came to do the physical with your before you went to the national team. If it was me, half of them would not show up again. Għax jiena li you have training at 7, or until you know how I was. If I have training at 7, and at 7 you're walking in with your shoes in your hand and you're having a chat, and the coach is there waiting for you, and you expect the coach not to get angry, or to tell you, why are you talking to your friend? It's 7 o'clock, we should have started, I only have an hour and a half. What is he supposed to tell you? Sorry, can you please, it's 7 o'clock, we're supposed to start at 7, you're having a chat, but I don't want to disturb you. It's not to hurt your feelings.
But
these things, there was that.
Għax il-coach jaqla l-ħara għax jena, mux ovvja jaqla l-ħara.
Għax din naħseb insinuata għalija.
Le, mux għalik. Għalik najdlek, mux għalik.
Le, imma jena, eżempju, konna saltart.
If you advised them before, it's fine. Jena mux għalik.
Memx to advice, inkelli xinejt ma dan kien last national team. Għax jena kont, immur ix-xogħol, ma norqodx fl-għaxija. Kif nasal id-dar mix-xogħol inselaħna għal-mara. It-tifel għadu żgħir. Coaching tiegħi part-time, għandi training tal-nazzjonal wara. Mhux I'm taking a big chunk of life of my life li mbagħad għax tkun dawk il-5 minutes late jisek Madonna David jek late. Għax ġirat li li.
I understand what you're saying, yes. But you took on the load. You could have easily said this, my guys. I'm too busy. My life is hectic at the moment. I cannot play national team because I cannot give you my 100% commitment. Could you have said that? But you didn't want because you wanted to play. But Duncan is as a coach. Duncan cannot take your personal things into consideration and give David a break while he's trying to lead the others. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't referring to you before. I was referring to a younger player. A coach has 10, 15 characters to manage. You took a decision to be part of the national team. You took the decision. It's how you managed it. Unfortunately, it's not Duncan's responsibility. Which I understand your point. It's really, really tough. I'm sure I wouldn't have managed. Maybe I would have said this now, guys. There's here a national team for you. Because I can't manage. Or you tell them this now, beforehand. Guys, I would love to play national team, but these are the conditions. Maybe you should have done that. Jiena meta mort ma' Rabat, I told them. Kont mort ma' Rabat għax rid nilgħab ma' Julian ftit u ma' Omar. L-association, mhux l-association, il-kumitat kontattilhom. Tilhom jiena I'm coming twice a week. Tilhom if I'm injured I'm not coming. I told them everything beforehand. Ma li bdiet is-season. Isma' għajt il-Michael jibda jiġi sessions kollha. Għatlu ġu. I told you. Beforehand, I told you. Instead of retiring, I'm coming. It's not whether I played well.
Ma trainings kont tiġi kollha.
2 a week, I used to go.
2 a week.
2 days. Actually, I didn't want to train in Rabat. It was too small. I didn't like it. And my body couldn't take it anymore. I used to come to the games. 38.
F'nofs dak is-season.
I hurt. And I hurt. Mux tal-jek, I was getting in shape to come back. Because I thought we really could win the league, għax kien ġi Marko, mort niġi taqali fid-dlam u rwejt l-aksa. Unbat iġebru li ta' komitat, għax ma ġiġ jara training. Irrit jiġi jara kull training, daw jgħidu jiġi jara kull training. Illi għax ma senna nilab il-basketball ħajja.
Ma mbagħad qed tmur kontra l-punt li tiegħek li qed tgħid.
I told them before, but Dave. I told them before. Your mistake was that you should have spoken to Duncan one-on-one.
Jiena kienu jafu s-sitwazzjoni tiegħi.
You should have told him, isma' Dunk, I'll come, but I just have a kid. So if I'm late one day, half an hour or 5 minutes, tajli xej, għax I have the situation. He could have told you, Dave, I understand the situation, we're not going to take you this time. Or he could have told you, Dave, okay, I'll accept it. But from the younger kids, when I was there, coming in with your shoes in your hand, at 7 o'clock, training is starting, half of you are warming up, and you're talking to your friends. This is the attitude you want, and you want to become. This is where we go back to. You want to be treated as a professional. You want to be treated as a star, but you're acting amateur.
Imma din hija parti mill-punt li qed tajt int, għax hemm ċertu players ukoll li ma ħaqhomx ikunu hemm u xorta jintgħażlu. Taf kif? Allura jisu xikultant you take that for granted ukoll. Fejjat u għal-fejjat, taf kif?
Yes, I agree with what you said last time, that they used to do it in the past. It's very hard on players that you get a selection, 20-30 players, you do a week, 2 weeks session, u tibda taqta bil-mod. I agree with that completely. You're giving everyone a chance, you're giving people might be... I see the clips, yes. That I agree with, but it's very hard on the players. I've seen it in the past. Qabel ma konx nazzjonali, Julian kien mar trial, and they used to do it in this way. 2 days before the tournament, they told him, you're not going, għax ġej Berto. So it's very hard on the players.
U le, mux 2 days before.
You know what I mean?
Tamel per eżempju ġumatej, un bat l-axħar 12 eżempju.
Exactly, I agree with it, but then this boils down to again changing the whole system of the national team. We are not good enough, and we are not dedicated enough as a whole now, because there are dedicated people, to afford to train 1 month before a tournament. U jekk jgħiduli għax il-pajjiżi l-oħrajn jagħmlu hekk. Because they do, it doesn't mean it works for us. It's not working for us. So things have to change.
We need something different.
We need to change. We need more physical, 100%.
Aħna dikolla, jien nikkompara ħafna ma' sħabi, Mike. Sħabi at every session in football, there with a strength and conditioning coach, and a physio, every session ta' Iġli jekk kert rewala sax ma' riġri ta' għali flashy għada, għamel session mal-physio fit-training session stess.
You għandu l-bike mal-ġempet jgħamil il-rosa.
That's a level of...
And these things we didn't improve, unfortunately. Aħna meta konna morru serjeċi, konna jgħidu Nathan it jiġu għalidari. Qabel kullu bej fuq għalidari. I don't know if it was good at that time. Nathan was becoming a physio, I don't think it was good. But I had got it in my head that I needed to do it every game. U konna Nate, faħuri, tik. La physio, il-physio jiġi le.
Dak iż-żmien forsi kellkom skuża li ma kontux tafu. Illum hemm skużi. Imma issa ħanqabesna għal-ġenerazzjoni tagħna. Inti dedikat kont, Omar dedikat kien, Steve dedikat kien, semmi li players kollha. Brother, aħna dedikati wkoll konna ta'. U għaw players iżgħar minna li dedikati immens. Li we can pair up with you, tipo...
I think some of you are even more dedicated than I was, xina?
Ġifieri,
Yeah, it wasn't
dedication,
dedicated
nemmen li hawn
to
tfal dedikati, tfal żgħar dedikati, u nemmen li jridu jimprovjaw. Jiena li tbeżżani hija l-ixxu tal-burned li jiġu burned out, li da jiġi coach ġdid mhux jilagħbek, eċetera, 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 isma' tħallas 5,000 biex tmur ma' klabb ieħor. Jien daw l-affarijiet irritata li mbagħad jekk il-klabb ma jibżax għalik, jew mhux iħallsek biżejjed, jew jekk tagħmilha l-flus, jew jitlaq ma' klabb ieħor.
Jiena tafala wkoll pereżempju jien nara minn din li qed tgħid jien għandi 28, ħanna 28 għas għandi 28. U x'kultant ngħid li ġbajt nilab. Għax l-istess 5 U għalhekk jien għatlek pereżempju ta' li tirtira il-kit, mhux għax is-signifikat li inti għamilt ħajtek kollu basketball. L-aħjar plejer li qatlab Malti basketball fl-istorja ta' dan. U xorta, ġifri għasamlu għalilek ħajamlu xi ħaġa għalija, u mhux for that recognition, imma finalment you want to be recognized naqra. Mhux sabiħ.
And I think it's a point where you attract more players to stay.
Mhux
It
hekk.
Unfortunately, egos are very important.
Yes,
Egos.
mela.
Jiena what fed me to win Player of the Years and Player of the Month, and that was my ego. It was me being able to say, I won it.
Mhux għalhekk mort tiġri fil-għaxija.
Għalhekk ġri.
Kont
Għalhekk mort tiġri, because
Torjom.
U ġew niftakar ngħidilu meta tlift il-league, I wasn't pissed off, I wasn't angry, I just said, no. Sajot. My friend on the other team, I waqt jaqlali.
Oh, Markin, kontra
Nasib konna tlifna ma' l-Luxor. Jok, jista jkun Omar. Ma dik l-ar telfa li għad kelli dik.
Vera.
Kontra Omar, one of the worst ones. That, għax kont għamilt 44 u tlifna by 3.
Nissija.
U Joe kellu ħabta kera kien iċempel li Matthews għammit wara sena ma jenabx u kien iċempillu biex jiġi għallob. U kienu ġildu fil-half time u niftakar għanna tlifna fem, mux najt li tlifna, but didn't help the situation.
Ġanka mal-Virtus ekkameltu, kien ġab il-Kristin, il-min ġib l-ek.
Le, mal-Virtus mux il-Kristin kien ġab, mal-Virtus kien ġab il-Steve.
U l-Kristin minn għalija u għalta.
Jista jkun, imma kien ġab il-Steve, u actually Steve.
Ħanejtek kien ġab il-Letjen darba.
Aha.
Bezzina.
Darba kien ġiet jan Bezzina l xiloba u niftakar sħabi Clayton Ivan u hekk, tiftakar minn Clayton u Ivan. Kien ġew kienu ħadu kontra ġew għalja malla, għalu tipo kondi trejja, tiġi daqsek.
Għandhom raġuni.
100%. It was a bad habit that he had. I know why he used to do it, but it didn't help in that time. Against Cameroon, that was my highest scoring game ever, and we lost by 3, and the person under me scored 6. U niftakar il-kort kien mimli.
Hemm video tiegħu dan bil-logħba.
Omar kien mal-oħrajn, so I wanted to win even more. And he had just went. And it could be that,
Kien jilab miegħek.
Huh?
Kien jilab miegħek.
Konna. Kien hemm wieħed point guard Amerikan żgħir. Nsejx jismu.
Tinsa pali.
Malti.
Kien hemm hija, kien hemm Etienne,
Siksa għamelu jrid jiġi top 10 li.
kien ġi Matthew.
Xallugi.
Xallugi. Kien ġi Matthew kien iġġiet ma ġew fil-ħafta fuq xi ħaġa. Konna tlifna.
Jien niftakru l Matthew Xallugi, darba ma tagħmel magħhom kien ġie ħanżir ta' plejer. Free throws jagħmilhom. Kellu touch ta'
U bat ma' Virtus kien ġab il-Steve. U konna tlifna, u ma dik ċad kellu playoffs naqra. Zina.
Fottejni l-ek it-tenġ bejna ħana, ma ħallejtek zirba di tent one.
The 10th one.
Dejjem kontejta kif nieħu t-tenni nieqaf, kif nieħu t-tenni nieqaf, kif nieħu t-tenni.
Imma mhux dik ta' mhux dik. The 10th tal-faw tal-Maki.
Xar kaza dik.
X'inhi di tal-faw?
Safru magħna.
Tal-faw tal-Maki u tal-faw l-inti fuq David Camilleri. Kontra l-Forjana u tlifnija f'konna Todorovic.
Le.
Mela xi.
Tal-faw tal-Maki kienet l-iktar waħda li hekk ngħid.
Tal-faw tal-Maki niftakar.
Jean Paul.
Jean Paul.
Out of position.
La, anka jien niftakar għadi.
Kien kont fajta Facebook, int?
Mhux ovvja kont inħrat kien għala li rasi. Għadu jaqbad miegħi Marcos għallu. Imma it still hurts. That's the one that still hurts.
Imma anka darba inti konna nirbħu Abbajtri.
Mal-Furjana jien tajjart il-pexxun.
Le, żgur inti fawjajt il-David Camilleri, il-logħba spiċċat. Abbajtri aħna. Mijak
U more next time.
More next time u għamel 3 free throws, ġveri kien waqaf għamel 3 free throws, David Camilleri ħares lejna jitħaq. Ħares lejna u jitħaq għax niftakar ċar il-ġew għalek għal tipo l-unika wieħed li mar qallu xi ħaġa David Camilleri, tipo David. Tipo ustenna l-Lomar jidilli, jmur ikellmu.
Mal-Furjana.
Mal-Furjana kienu, konna
Mal-Furjana mux darba rbħu.
Darba.
Moment klas, di kienet.
Top,
Dik kien mifquħ ta' għali u koll.
Mija fil-mija, Mike. 100%.
La, kien hemm waħda tajjart il-pexxun. Fl-aħħar
Sekonda.
sekonda. U jiena wint, meta kont magħna inti, s-sena qabel ma tlaqt. Ma ftem le.
Mela, jiena
Għax ma ftemniex, jiena wint. Jien tajjart il-pexxun fl-aħħar 1 minute u 40 seconds. Tajjart il-pexxun, jien ma tlekx u int ma saqsejtniex il-min kontet inżom. Inti tħalt, mort fuq il-player ħażin u skurja lejja b'der kwadu.
Tortijak li m'għandux lax.
Jiena u ma ftemniex. Jiena u ma ftemniex. U jien niftakar tajjart il-pexxun kont. 40 seconds. Jiena naħseb
defend il-derg.
le, inti tħalt għax jien weġġajt. U ma ftemniex għax ħixt malaj, xi ħaġa kienet. Ma jien ma nfakarom. Kif saqsi Steve da
Ma xi tazza ta' kienet mhux li.
Tazza kien jista'
Le, xi tazza kienet ta' di tazza.
Le,
Għax lig ħadd tnejn magħkom jien u tlifna waħda ta' mal-Furjana.
X'ħadd inti tnejn magħna.
Ħadd ġiex ligs magħkom u ġiex ligs mal-Virtus jien.
4 għandek?
Erba'.
Le, robot le.
Għad.
Nistja.
Rabat ilhom ma.
U inti kemm għandek?
3.
Starlights?
3 fila. Kemm l-aktar ħadtum fila għandhom?
Xejn. 1.
Wieħed qatt ma ħadd back to back. Istraver.
Aspirita sena?
U għandek 9. Le.
Aspirita sena? L-unika player.
Don't over 20 years żgur mela.
Jiena bdejt ta' 15 iżidni. Imma mill-15 konna nab 30 seconds, 40 seconds. 1995.
15 ħattu l-lik.
No, għamilna l-ewwel 3 snin.
So għajna jġu ta' 16 date il-għab, un bat meta u spiċajta.
I finished at 38.
Maħna.
38.
22 years.
22, 23. Going on the 23rd season. The season with Rabat was 23. Jiena niftakar. And this is something they should do yearly as well. Meta kont erbaħt l-Under 16 Player of the Year, konna morna minna rija Aura Palace, kienu namlu presentation u għek. U Ivan Riolo was winning his 2nd in a row Player of the Year. And this was another thing that I said,
Tida.
I want that. But I never managed. I don't think I managed 2 in a row.
Kemm għandek MVP? 6?
7.
7.
Nasib anka għalik ħatnej fila.
Le.
Melik ħada hu. Bla sens.
But 2 in a row I never managed. I have 7 out of 9 finals, but I didn't take any more. I would have rather had lost another MVP and won the 10th league.
10 zbiħu. Istija kif għat maħattu back to back?
Dejjem ikkonna, minna jgħat maħna back to back. Konna nerfħu, nidaw. Because once we had a super team, u fattejna kollox kellna team tal-ħagġeb. Jiena, Chris Samut, kellna għed Franċis, kien ex-national team France, Steve, Dirk, Edison. Disaster konna.
Konta mitliftu?
Konna fl-għu darba mal-Virtus. Juma.
Aħna.
Disaster konna.
Ma'kom, eknejdek, ma'kom, is-sena wara tlaqtina, arbaħna tnejn infila kontrikom.
Mela waħna minn dawk taras, Kirstin, kellna tim tal-ħagġeb. Ma bidni xej.
Xi kultant istjaw.
Għanu battajt. Jekk semmi li player, tajt l-iktar players li built tilab maħħom. Nasib easily Chad Womer.
Chad topu. Chad.
U Chad nasib with me as well, tax.
Chad dema.
We just clicked.
Niftakru
We just clicked.
Niftakar xaru daqsek. Hemmhekk Santa Monica ninżlu l-ewwel ġimagħtejn.
Disaster.
Imma disaster. ċed,
U-
disaster. Joe kien ħajket ċeħlem. U Steve Schembri. Eżatt, u Steve Schembri kien qallu Joe, isma' minni naf xi
Għax kien ħajġi plejer ieħor u Steve beda jgħidu le, ejja nagħmlu da,
Fejn
nagħmlu da.
kien ċed, U mbagħad niftakar ċed kont ħares lejn l-scoreboard. ċed għandu 20 points.
No, he was quite quiet.
Fiex jien għamilhom? Ma tkunx.
The nicest to play with were him and
Eżempju ċed,
Medon.
compared mal-barranin ta' qabel. Kif kien? Les,
tabat, per esempio, similar player, Roger Fasting. Jek tabat il-ċed similar Roger Fasting, I think. Għax they're both, as you're saying, silent assassins. Not close. Chad is a good friend of mine, I don't think he'll get offended. But no. Roger niftakar darba labu mal minna lija kienu Creighton College. Kienu ġew triangular tournament minn daw. U kellu player ħajmur l-NBA. U l-coach ta' Creighton niftakar, jien ma konx ħalli nabtar, kont mal-full bump kelli 16, Felix kien coach. U l-coach tagħhom ġi fuq Lynn u fuq Roger. U għallhom, this guy's going to he was a prospect or whatever. Dave, meta ngħidlek kiluh. U l-logħba kienet vera samba, għax Lynn kien showboat. La fadeaways, la reverse layups, ħafna minn dan mutetti u ħafna minn daw li tħobbu intkom, you know? U kien għamel 32, u kulħadd se lost jagħmel 32 kontra Creighton. What high say scoreboard ta' Roger? 36. Ma tindunax jagħmel 36, imma kien jagħmel lek dak il-floater żgħir, dak il-lej.
Dik l-offensive rebound, dawk affarijiet
Amazing, he was an amazing player. And he made you play better, which Lynn didn't do. Lynn made himself look great. One of the things I think I developed as well, because I played with Roger for so long. Anka Silvio Cassar used to make Roger used to make him look great too. He used to make me look great.
Kollu t-nejn fuq u bam. Tkun kapaċi
From AG. He couldn't really jump as high as everyone. He didn't shoot as great as everyone. Incredibly. But ma tiftakrux timbrit.
Dejjem isemmuhom daw, ma
Il-Roger Fasting specialment.
Roger ġi ma'kom, Raba. Claire Bleak. Dak niftakar lab kontra Doug Christie, għazin Doug Christie, niftakru nitkom. NBA player, whatever.
La.
Niftakar juri il-video, kien super, no?
U l-lim taħseb allura kien l-aħjarek tim li għatlabt miegħu. Ek li rbaħtu lik jew le whatever.
L-aħjar tip tagħna. Naħseb meta rbaħna, meta ġisem. Għax we were, it wasn't the best team of players.
Konna underdogs.
We were underdogs, but we all fit together. You know, he was still coming up, he was still listening to us, you know. Niftakar Steve li tijoqt l-flaħħar tal-loba, per eżempju, kien ħamel żball. Kien għamil kont ħatamel xi fawl fl-aħħar. Hemm il-video ta' Steve isabbat il-ballun li għajat miegħu l-kittib, kien għadu żgħir. We got motivated when Sam came.
Mela.
Where you go back to ego.
Mux hekk.
Me and Steve, I remember, me and Steve when we said Sam is coming, he said, we didn't go, oh, Jason. And we played 6GV. Who had Igor.
U li konna fajnjom.
Imma kien, mux hekk ma konniex fajnjom. Kellhom Igor, Chris Meyer. Konna ġejna.
Igor, Chris Meyer, Peter, Schwartz.
2-1 konna ġejna.
Li konna
2-1 konna ġejna. Imma jina u ċad. Konna batejna. Konna minna ġiex lobit ma kontra Igor naqalawħ. Jina għandi ritrat. Għed nid-defendi l-Sam, jisni d-deodorant. Blaşar, għandi razi għaw ta' so, and that you go back.
Ma jerġa' kien Malti, bġieġ barranin.
Barranin, kellhom
Barranin dik is-sena. ċe, wieħed.
And we played such nice basketball. The ball didn't stop. Anka Luxor, when they had their very good season, they played nice basket.
Meta mar
Because
Steve u hekk.
Meta mar Steve and they had Steve, Maki, Robert,
Dak kienu għal Steve. Top guy Steve,
Steve was one of the most, I think, intelligent players on bar.
U naħseb li l-iktar li r-rival jak f'dik l-era. Bħala jisu MVP u hekk.
Ma naħsibx ta'
One biss
Steve ta' 19 rebaħ.
Vera Steve f'moħħi dejjem kien.
Steve 17 reba.
17.
U jiena ta' 18.
Issja.
Mbagħad Omar ta' 20, meta kont l-Amerikan reba Omar ta' 20.
Dejjem f'moħħi kelli li jisu t-top 2 kontu intu Steve.
Wara jem Omar.
L-aktar MVPs.
Has four.
Issja.
No,
Meta rebaħ l-ex żgur.
Naħseb bandu Omar.
Rebaħ bastard. Għadu jisemmi li sadlu. Naħseb motivation. Naħseb iktar Omar was my motivation. Mela Steve.
Għazmur tajjeb iktar ma' Steve jew Omar?
Playing wise, Omar. Omar used to feed off me as in he knew what I was gonna do probably before I did it. You know, and I knew where he was gonna be. So, and I had the same thing with Chad. I knew where Chad was going to be with my eyes closed. So, but I
Kif
think,
ikun hemm ċertu players you link up iktar
but Omar what was good about Omar was that he always made you feel bad that you're not training enough. Steve didn't have that. Steve was a bit like me, you know, didn't need to train. He didn't train. Omar was, what's he doing? Oh, I'm going to shoot at 6 o'clock in the morning. Shit, what fake, you know? And then you're like, alright, he went at 6, I have to go before training now. And it was that type of competition. And then if you're running at training, he's gonna beat you in shuttles by half a court. You know, so you have to run fast. This I was always the type, stay with the guy who's the fittest, so you don't have to push that much, but you just stay enough not to make Joe angry. You know, in African America, it was my tactic. But nintefa ma l-aħjar player. U kienet jina ġiri. Da l-aħjar player kien għazzil. Allura għad najt, għad nintefa miegħu.
Kaxxera.
Ġunajġi, darba tagħna 100 meter sprints.
100?
Kien ħadna ġa football pitch, kien għamel cones jemmuna u niftakar Steve.
Tek għam għamitu xi satej?
Le, 10K ju.
Ma sprints jew.
Non-stop. You have to run it. He had told us, you put a cone here, divided us into 4 groups, u jena fattiħin. Għamur ma l-aħjar player. You have 100 meter sprints, always running. He meant running at 80% full out run, basically. 10K full out.
Ma kif jistajgħu?
10K round cones of 100 meters.
Ma mux ħatamel 80% sprint.
80% ġida. Allura, basically a hard run. U jena tfajt ma dan, James Lee kien jismu. Għatlu James, I'm gonna stay with you. Dak kien jajki kuġinuħ kien Steve Francis muremnu. Imma kien atleta ta' barra minnaw. Darba mel 12 floba, 8 dak il-tip. Umbat kien meġnun, jitfazzarbun fil-arja fil-training, jitlaq l-em, jikpi, dak il-tip ta' brem. Jena t-somma bdejna nġru għada. Wara 20 minutes, da kull lap, il-coach jt jħodlok. Lap għanna mela, jinna, 1 minute. Wara 20 minutes, il-coach jgħidlu, James, I know you can do better. Il-massaġerja di l-bicċa, et niġru, għamil wahdek, għalli sorry Mike, I've got to go. Għaddi niftakar għasalu, you got to go. You got to go. U beda jiġri, u jenat, għalla miegħu. U għet nifrafa nżom, u f'daqqa nisma, u beda jiġri. Għajlik jisu zima ta' trot. U ma stajt naqdu bxej, għattara kif fottini da. U spiċċajt wieħed tal-aħħar, għax mbagħad I pushed to catch him mid. My trick didn't work. Allura spiċċajt tal-aħħar, ma the level was. Kien wieħed kien jirċievi jitri daqshekk minn l-universitajiet. Kien jisu Kevin Garnett. There's so many players.
U biex tkun vera top, jisax kultant ngħid pereżempju kif daw il-players, ma jrid ikollok kollox,
You have to be a full package.
So I have to be the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah, if you're training X amount, there's someone who's training more. So you have to train more. Or better.
You have to train a little bit smarter for see.
Smarter for
a bit
sure.
of luck.
Smarter.
To make it, you need a combination kif qed jgħid of everything.
Malta, you never want to make it, really. Unless you get out, you're not going to make it. You have to leave at a young age, you have to go to a club. Anzi, now for you, exposure, not for you.
Għazzar li tilajn, no.
Għazzar li tilajn, exposure is easy. Niftakar ta' 20, 23, but VHS għalla tape kelli li bat biex jasal għant l-agent nasib dar xar fil-posta, ma lax minnu dar agent, now you send Instagram link u da' so it's much easier. The opportunities even to go and play third division, ma nafx, fejn ma rajnik, jemma il-Germania. These options are there available for players today, and people like Alex should take advantage of these situations.
Tkun trida. Jien taf li eżempju dejjem konna jda, I never wanted to be a pro,
I would have loved it, but in Europe. At my time it was different, għax ma kenniex Facebooks. You know, to speak to your family you had to wait to a certain time to phone. Kont tidħol fuq l-MSN, tisma' dial-up, dak it-tip, it wasn't. Now you're connected all the time, but I would have loved it. Inti kom il-top 10, u naqtaw.
Ejja, top 10, faqqa, ibda mit-10,
Mit-10?
Ejja, ġiviri inti għatma ħsibta li jew
Tim,
ħasib biex ma rajtomx il-comments fuq Facebook, ħasib għazzibt. Tim, da top team. Imma team ġifiri you're gonna assemble it bħala team.
Ġiviri center, shooting guard,
ħanamlu għaj.
titfax li l-ek il-nifsek.
No, I won't put myself.
Le, da li titfa li l-ek il-nifsek.
Le, ma tistax tamel top 10 u titfa li l-ek il-nifsek.
Le, għanamel top 10 u ma nitfax l-nifsek. In no order.
Le, ħanibdew.
Mike, ksibtek.
Le,
ksibtek kien.
Nitfaw li, il-kella ħajċempilli. Mela, Silvio.
10.
Zom, top 10.
On the spot, to be fair.
Yeah, that's the kera. ħanajdom not in order.
Come on, le, għandat minni ħu.
Mela 10, Mario Tabone.
Istrek kien tajjeb, ek Mario tifla, ma niftakrux jien.
Nimmaġinaħ li kien tajjeb Mario.
9.
Id-dudu kienu jgħidu, eżempju. Il-lab kont għad-dudu.
Nħabtu le l-axħar ftit. Mario was, I think he would be there, but I won't put him in because it's before my generation. 9, I would say Ivan Riolo. 8, Nathan Farrugia.
Daj, semmuħu għal maħu.
Nathan Farrugia, but he had a very shorter career. But għandek... It's not easy. You have... What do I mention?
Nathan, Ivan u
Silvio.
Nikdbu għamejja.
Albert jew Ivan, that's debatable, you can put them together.
Ma l-erġib ta' 10, minnet.
Silvio.
Mbat minnet.
Umbat.
Le,
10 Mario.
10 Mario. Mario, Silvio.
Nathan.
U Albert.
Albert jew Ivan. Albert / Ivan.
Albert. U Ivan ħalli.
/ Ivan.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Top 5.
Għanamel wahda / terġa. Because they were the opposites of each other.
Iġviri Albert Mivan, mux ma Silvio,
Albert Mivan.
All right. Albert mux il-kbir. Big guy.
Ma Ivan attar big guy,
Ella, mux il-Riolo.
Inti Riolo.
Ivan Riolo għattu kol.
Mario Silvio.
Nathan.
Farrugia.
Nathan, mela, wara Nathan għamel Ivan Riolo. Għax ekkaħjar.
Ekkaħjar ta' namna.
Umbat għamel...
So issa din top 4 daw.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Semma ħamsa.
Derku, Edison.
U le, ma tittażelu. Derku Edison. U le, tittażelu.
Dirk was very good. Għax he knew how to use other players.
So who was better, Dirk or Eddie?
Dirk was offensive, Eddie was defensive.
Kem kien joġobni Edison? Anka Dirk, ta' jien Edison... Ejja.
I had to pick Eddie. Sorry, Dirk.
So Derek Edison.
Mela ħanibdew hekk, għax issa naħħejna slashes,
Neħħejna slashes?
10 Mario.
Mela jdu nduruha.
Mario, Silvio, Nathan, Ivariola, Albert, Ivan, Derek, Eddie. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. 2 more you have, eh?
Steve Omar.
Steve Omar. Iġviri Omar poġġi il-1? Ek tiġi? Steve 2, Omar 1.
Yeah, you can, no, it's debatable.
Steve Omar.
Steve ħajjarni jessa.
Lax poġġi il-tini.
I think winning wise, insomma Steve rebaħ disa wkoll.
Istija.
Omar rebaħ disa.
ħadd ma għamel l-10.
Naħseb Paolo
Kevin De
fil-dar.
Cesare, but I did it with one team. Just biex ngħidilhom. Għax Paolo għandu xi 12. U Kevin De Cesare wkoll. Ma dawk team hopping go. Imorru ma daħħel teams. Jina tisa ma ġew galja. Waqqali ġari, waqqalu ġaru.
Għadkom titkellmu għak ma ġoja u jisib taqqata mbagħad.
Ma ġini morru, ġini morru, li drink u hekk. Insejna l-etjen benzina. Daħlux top 10. Dak dedikat kien.
U Kristin Baldacchino ma semmejx? Le? Is-strada, spoke.
IQ.
No.
Isma.
Asin David insomma ma semmejta?
Kristin Baldacchino jien niftakar.
Was very clever player, but I don't think he's that
5 on 5. Imma konna nibdew nilabu xi żomm jew xi ħaġa, nippruvaw xi ħaġa u jkun mal-oħrajn. Imma ma konniex naqbdu art miegħu. He knew the game so well.
He did, no, he knew the game, but I don't think as a...
Kien jiddefendi tal-ġen.
But he's not in that, I don't think he's in that. If you had to choose the first top...
Jiena
That's why I say it's easier to choose a team. Choose 5 players, you're starting 5. And it's easier. Because you're choosing by position, you're choosing... If you told me your first 5, excluding myself, you have Omar as the 1, with Mario as his sub, only because I think I might even switch Mario with Omar in that case. Because then it depends what you want as a coach. Mario was a player that was going to make you run, make you score. It was a pure point. But then the game started to change. Omar was more of a virgin 1-2. Joe made him play the 1. So
Omar naħseb his natural is shoot.
So, but I mean, Omar, he gets you out of some shit when he scores his 2. So you put Omar at 1, Steve 2, 3.
Ma starting 5 it-tfali like nifsek as in no.
3 I would put myself. 4 between father and son. As I think Silvio and Kurt. I think Silvio is better than Kurt.
Oh,
Mike, sorry.
Inti ma tiftakrux il-Silvio.
Jien niftakru training ma jafx jagħmel liha.
Kien shooter abuse. Kien dedikat, kien lejn xejn. Unfortunately, Kurt, I never saw him in shape. I think he's a bit of a lazy.
Jien kontettilu, mbagħad l-għada ġilidna.
So I think I would take Silvio, and 5, Ivan Attat. Or Albert.
No, Derek no Edison mbagħad in-New York.
No, the 5. Or
Sam.
Sam, I might take Sam.
Ma jena Sam għalija naqa kategorija għalija.
Sam is a different category because
he
changes
basketball miegħu ta' like as a basketball player. Ekked nistkellmu fuq l-ħajja basketball players jisu ma sax tajt. Għax anka il-case jenu fuq Samuel as a basketball. Mux għazaj kemm hu effettiv.
Kif għalhom batu skill-wise.
Because I put in dedication as a talent. I put it in. But I don't put size as a talent. Size is good. God's gift.
Notajtek li.
So I put in, if you're dedicated, I think it's a talent.
Għaxan ta' kif għat il-talent taħija aktar minn tijaj, ma jena lija ek tkun 6'3 u jisu l-athletic ability li għandek inti nara bħala it's a talent f'moħħi.
My brother was, I think, fundamentals or things like that, he was much more talented. he just lacked a bit of the kif tajt bil-Malti, l-bib to play sometimes.
Naqaw arroganza.
No, you have to have it like if you see the best, Cristiano Ronaldo, they all have this
Ego.
this
It's all about
bit of an ego.
Ego.
Julian didn't have it. Julian used to quiet down. I think his best game, Darbak, he had the best game of his life. I think it was Spiċajna kollha fouled out. Ma kellux option u bla
Kellu jilgħab bil-Spurs.
Hija kontra ħamru.
Isma' Hawk Athletic kien sew, eh?
Mela. U għadu.
Hawk Athletic.
Għadu. But it makes a difference.
Tejnu naqra fid-depiro issa kif inhu jew le m'għandek x'taqsa. As physical sessions u hekk qatt ma għamiltilhom xejn.
Inti għamilt il-Masters u Strength and Conditioning.
Coaching and strength and conditioning.
Aha. Titħajjar tidħol ma' xi klabb jew entità jew whatever.
Issa għanamil camp zaħira l-Starlights.
Issa vera.
Għanamil fundamental camp for Starlights in July and August.
Nice.
Then I'm gonna help them a bit with strength and condition during the season. But I'm not going to be tied to one specific club. I'd rather help all
Għaliex
clubs.
qatt ma hekk ma tħajjarġ jew tiftaħ pereżempju rasek, mhux tiftaħ klabb issa, ċanka like skola.
I was thinking about doing some camps maybe. I should have maybe
Yeah,
some
nice.
players that I could tell friends of mine that would come down and help me do a camp and something like that. I have a lot to do with the grid. And then you say
Priorities, oh.
biex tispiċċa blaħin.
Le, mhux hekk.
Għandu missir kien, għamur session ma session jihdu session. Kif għazadu session jihdu?
Jidġenna naħseb għal-ballu.
Dak jiklu l-ballu. Ma taqbżux, Labna loba futbol kontri ħina u ġuli ma minnix ballu.
Hello.
Le, ma di ta' top 5. Anka ta' nisa rajtom il-top 10. There were a few that I think
Ara, il-top 10.
It's
ta'
very, very
kulħadd
creative.
differenti.
bil-fors.
Ta' kulħadd differenti.
U inti pereżempju anke pereżempju ddaħħal ċertu players cause you're emotionally linked with them u taf kif.
Jena let, I don't suffer with that.
Vera jiena nisaffer with that.
Like, even coaches, like the best coach. I won't tell you Joe is the best coach.
Min mela pereżempju.
Joe was not a good coach, as David for sure knows. If you didn't know how to motivate yourself or to keep yourself going, he was not the best coach to have, but he knew the game inside out, which he taught. The players that paid attention, he taught them the game, you know, that he taught us how to make decisions on our own.
Kif taqra l-logħba?
Kif taqra
How to
l-logħba.
read the game.
But if you did a mistake in a game and you weren't a strong character and you could take it, you would suffer with Joe. As a good, like Felix, if you go on the other hand with Felix, fundamental coach to teach you how to do a layup, do a reverse layup, do a pivot. You know, you watch players now, they don't know how to do a screen, they don't know how to come off a screen. And when I came to do your sessions, senior players that don't know how to come off a pick and roll
Dik taf li niftakarni għall-imiri.
and take a
Fejn
touch.
tiftakar kont
Coming over screen.
You have to learn
Imma
these
anke
things.
pereżempju jiena għax l-aħħar darba semmejni u kombinazzjoni semmej di għax niftakar waħda mill-ewwel sessions li kellna ma' Depiro meta ġejt, kont waqqaftni u għatli biex nippawżja qabel ma nuħu l-iskrin u affarijiet.
Like Alec, I love the way Alec plays the game and I know everyone, but he's always at 100%. And I tried to tell him at the session, basketball is not a game you're always, and I had the same problem. Joe used to tell me, slow down, let the game come to you. You cannot attack. A basketball game is like a game of chess. Every defender and every team has a certain weakness. If you're going full speed, you're not going to see it. So you have to sometimes just take a step back, you know? And Alec is always 100% even training. When I came and I was watching you coach, I was dying to say something. Sorry, this wasn't my place because there's Duncan. But even certain passes, at that level, hey, I'm coming off a pick. I can't get the pass over here. I get the pass over here. And I remember teaching him how to do a fadeaway. Because people don't know. How did I learn how to do a fadeaway? I had a player who taught me, so you know, I had American coming going back to the high level. You know, these basic things, even Julian, I have this conversation, Julian likes to play a pick and roll with a handoff. They don't know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, it ruins the whole system because you're out of place. And the important details of a pivot. If you watch, there's a program of Kobe and he explains all these things, and I was speaking to Ivan Riola about it. If you come off a pick and your feet are pointing that way and the ring is that way, you're already ruined. Your feet have to turn. So these little details make the big things easier, you know? Even your shot. If I'm shooting off balance, I had a habit when I was young. I used to fall. I thought it was cool to fall after a layup, I'd fall on the floor. After a shot, I'd fall on the floor. Then you start to mature and you say, okay, I don't have to jump that high if I do it properly, or, you know, these little things. And at a senior level, they should know it. And
at the national team level.
At the national team level, I was dying. And I mentioned it on the side to Duncan, but he had a point. He said, Mike, it's not the time. We're 3 weeks before a tournament and I have to teach them how to pass on a curl or how to set a pick. It's not the time. That's why. Yes, but you can pick them up. You can improve them.
Yes.
But in the games, like I watch the playoffs now and I watch the men and I was doing, they're so 100% gas ma piancha and they forget them. And it makes all the difference. It makes your jump shot, 3-point or whatever. They're all good.
Yes. X'namlu?
Għaxinna,
Thank you ħafna. Pleasure.
Nisperaw li nħorġu ġaġa minna.